So, holiday cooking giving you the blues? Have a special event coming up and the menu has you pulling out your hair already? Or maybe you're feeling a bit overwhelmed just thinking about how you're going to keep those unwanted holiday pounds off. Let the food stylist herself, Chef Derica, take all your worries away with her expressive culinary delights. Her services include, but not limited to, luxury full-service upscale catering perfect for weddings, graduation parties, birthdays, corporate events, and much, much more. Now I know what you're thinking. I have tried to meal prep and stay on track, and I just haven't been able to stick with it. Well, reaching your goals can be challenging. However, with proper motivation, consistency, and discipline, it can be done. Remember, slow and steady always wins the race. You have to trust the process. With Chef Derica's in-home personal chef services, it includes meal planning, ongoing pantry and refrigerator evaluation, grocery shopping, cooking, and kitchen cleanup. We all hate doing that part. For those more private and intimate moments, you can schedule an exclusive private dining or brunch. Maybe her unique charcuterie board or grazing tables are more to your liking. Or perhaps you're one of those DIY people. Well, if you are, she's got something for that as well. You can take advantage of her private or group cooking classes. Or for those who may want a little more challenge, you can order your own personal cookbook, Seasoned for the Soul, parts 1 and 2, available now. And as always, all of her services are made with fresh ingredients, custom menus, beautiful presentations, and delicious meals. To inquire or schedule a consultation, just simply visit www.chefderica.com. That's www.chefderica.com. Get started now.
Welcome to the Trophyz and Medalz podcast, where we discuss sports, fashion, music, and entertainment. Where trophies are temporary and medals are forever. What side are you on?
Welcome back to the Trophyz and Medalz podcast. It's your boy Batman with the F-Tie crew. We have Twin and F-Tie King in the building, and we have a special guest this week, Mr. Chris Rogers. How y'all doing today?
Hey. Oh, let's don't forget Father too. That got your love.
And
Colonel Rogers. And Colonel Rogers.
There you go.
We got a colonel. Oh,
yeah, it's serious, brother. Yeah, it's serious business tonight.
Military. Oh man, Jimmy and Floyd should have been here.
Exactly.
The military backgrounds.
Yeah.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again.
Cool. But welcome to the show. So we want to lead with you, but this is something we do with all our guests just right off the back, so we can see what kind of energy you're bringing to the crew. Let our guests know what we're dealing with today. So first question that we have for How 504 are you? White or brown liquor?
Brown.
All right. Go ahead. F-Tie, can you kind of explain your thoughts on the difference between brown and white?
Well, we know what the brown liquor is always. That means you have a lot of high energy. Things can go left at any given second, depending on how many more, which glass of brown liquor you want for the minute. And so with with all women that drink brown liquor, you run from them ASAP. You if you want to have one good night,
as I sip my crown,
starting this shit off like this, huh?
Okay. Yeah, if you mess with a girl that do drink brown liquor, just make sure that this is a one night affair. Don't make this a consistent habit because you might end up at the end of the night. You might end the night off one night telling somebody to shut the fuck up because they reckless off of their brown liquor. So
Sean, what you got me doing tonight, man? Sean, you said this was gonna be a question thing. I got a brother, he's going down the 10 Commandments, man. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, no. It's not
how y'all doing it in the booth, man? Come on, baby. I mean, it ain't been 5 minutes. You fired already.
We just breaking down the levels of what the liquor is. Bad. It's not a bad. We like your energy. That means we all brown liquors around here. We all brown.
Round one.
Chris, I told you we got to find out how 504 are. I told you that. I won.
We got to see.
So good. So far, so
good. Winning right now, bro. Winning right now.
Brown amongst good company. Next question: New Orleans Saints or New Orleans Pelicans?
Oh my God, the Saints, man! Come on.
Okay. All right. Is that the Saints?
Right. Here we go for sure. So I'm a Raider fan. So we not know.
I was Ricky Williams' class when they traded all them draft picks for him. So
okay.
Yeah. Right. I got a chance to scrimmage against him. So yeah, it's Ricky all day. Reggie Bush is the boot. Yeah, the Superdome. Absolutely.
All right.
We're gonna teach you. Right. We're gonna by the end of the night. We're gonna teach you the difference between New Orleans and Louisiana.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll break that down to you in a minute.
Next question: Cash Money Records or No Limit Records?
Ooh, wee.
I'll pick one.
Ooh. I'll pick one, dude.
You thinking about them college days? At that time, 98,
exactly.
97,
yeah, exactly.
It was going down, man.
I mean, Pete brought it nationally. No Limit Soldiers. My college roommate calls me C Murder. So I mean, I it's kind of No Limit. No Limit did it for a minute, man. But there's something about Baby. There's something about Wayne. You know what I'm saying? So I got to go with Cash Money, man. I got to go with Cash Money.
All right. With that said, who's your favorite hot boy? BG, Juvenile, Wayne, or Turk?
I'm going Juvie. Juvie.
Okay. All right. So you in the middle. You can be mild mannered and reckless. They didn't give a second. So yeah, you know what you think.
That sounds about right.
And last but not least, seafood gumbo or seafood boil?
Ooh. I got to go with the seafood boil, only because my man introduced me to crawfish this past week. It was a great time, and he kind of gave me a pre-test. You know what I mean? So I'm glad hopefully I passed the Louisiana Board of Educators.
No.
Yeah, so, and get into, get down there to LSU.
But they know I'm listening.
Oh, yeah. You do well.
You do well, bro. You do well.
All right. So it's kind of like a personality test.
They got it called bet.
See where you at in that mindset.
Yep.
So
you do well. Well, real quick though, we gotta teach you the difference between New Orleans and Louisiana. New Orleans is its own entity.
Yes.
We just New Orleans. We in New Orleans, Louisiana, no nothing. We just New Orleans. Everybody else is Louisiana.
Okay.
So when we we don't never say Louisiana. We say we from New Orleans, and then all the rest of Louisiana get mad at us because of the fact we say we just from New Orleans. We don't. The rest of them don't matter to us in the bigger picture.
Okay.
So we that's just a little thing. That's a little different. And thank goodness, you ain't from Alabama, then it'd have been a whole nother story here.
Yeah, I'm from DC, man. I'm DC through and through.
See,
we by way of North Carolina, man. We by way of North Carolina.
All right.
So let's
get a lot of summers in DC.
Yeah.
In that Landover area.
That's it. I'm up. We're in Upper Marlboro, man. I went to Largo High School, man, in PG County.
All right. See, that part I don't remember. I was done.
Who else went to that high school that was in the league? I feel like somebody else. I know that high school name.
Yeah, we had offensive linemen that played for the Detroit Lions. Oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue. And then we had a safety from, I think he played from New Orleans, out of our high school. So we had 3 NFL players that came out of Largo High School.
Mm-hmm. It's just the name just rang a bell. Something about it, I don't know. This is my random information I have. So, so Chris,
what class was you? 95? Class
95.
Okay, class of 95 here too. So yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, 77s.
Yes, sir.
So out of DC, how was the high school football scene for y'all? Like, I know as of late with guys in the NBA, everybody talks about basketball in the DC area. How was the football scene?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, again, the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, is just really a haven of great athletes, great student athletes. You know, the education system there that you get is unparalleled. So, you know, even if you're not an athlete, you know, I mean, 6 people from my high school went to Howard University. You know what I mean? Like that, that's how, you know, rich the education was there. So in terms of football was always secondary. Basketball, you know, growing up with Len Bias, you know, the University of Maryland Terps had, you know, Walt Williams, you know, all these guys, Juan Dixon. You had a lot of great NBA talent, you know, Kevin Durant. So there was tons of guys that have come out of there that, but it was basketball heavy. You know, it was so competitive.
Georgetown too.
You know, you got all them schools. You got Georgetown, George Washington, George Mason, Georgetown, Howard, UDC, American University. So, you know, you got student athletes that they can keep really homegrown, you know, and but football was really secondary. So I didn't play high school football until my junior year. And so I was fortunate to go to the largest Black high school in the state. All my administrators were Black, my teachers were Black, our AD was Black, our coaches, and they really were trying to put us in the best position possible. And, you know, in Washington, you know, we have more neighborhood gangs than anything. So in my high school, we probably had 30 or 40 different gangs with 3,000 kids in the building, 9 through 12, you know? So it was, you know, it wakes you up real quick, as you guys probably experienced, that, you know, you either gonna do the right thing or do the wrong thing. There's a clear divide. And so, you know, our administrators, you know, they wore suits every day. They were clean every day. They smelled good. You know, we had really great role models. And then they put us in front of, you know, taking us to pen relays, taking us to really big track meets, regional meets to compete so that we could get our name and face out there. And so, you know, academically, and especially in DC, in the history of Washington, you know, everything is federal. And so, you know, you're talking about a Black middle class and upper middle class that is one of the largest populations in the world, right? We ain't talking just in the country, you know, we're talking about in the world. And so to be able to experience that was unbelievable. But basketball is extremely competitive. I was telling Sean, you know, it was so competitive in my high school gym, they measured 6 feet tape on outside of the gym before you even could practice. And if you weren't 6 feet, the coach wouldn't even let you in. So I mean, it was that kind of cutthroat where he knew what he wanted. And, you know, in Prince George's County, it's an all Black county, you know, with thousands of high school and thousands of kids. You know, you really get a high-end level of competition. And so, again, basketball was so much bigger than football. And, you know, it kind of changed probably in the early, you know, with Michael Vick going to Virginia Tech, and a lot of kids that were Ronald Curry, if you guys remember him out of Carolina, you know, those guys regionally, you know, kind of enriched that East Coast to where, you know, the Big East was huge at the time, right? In terms of basketball, you know, Georgetown, Syracuse, Boston College. I mean, it was you know, huge Big East basketball. And then you got the ACC. So with the University of Maryland and Carolina and Clemson. And so
Virginia and everything. Yeah.
Virginia, you know, and I think when Michael Vick came to Virginia Tech, it really had everybody go to Virginia Tech. Most kids were going up north to Penn State. You know, I'm assuming like, you know, outside New Orleans, LSU is the big Southern Deep South school. You know, you got SC in California, you got Ohio State or Michigan in the Midwest. But on the East Coast, it's Penn State. But when Michael Vick came, you know, I think, you know, that area, you know, the type of education they had, everybody just swarmed to that university, man. And that was a huge game changer too. So Michael Vick really kind of changed. I think that area down in Hampton changed the game for the, like, football players can be super elite coming from the East Coast, and they really started taking guys a lot more seriously. So, you know, there was twos and fews. I think, you know, when I went back to see my high school coach, and we talk, you know, once or twice a year, but, you know, he said in our county alone in football, there's 60 Division I football players now out of our county. Yeah. So that's pretty powerful in terms of student athletes going to college, right? Like that's Black men going to college on full rise. And so, you know, and that's just in PG County. That's not Montgomery County the next time over Washington, DC. That's just in our county alone. And so, you know, people take the education seriously, and they take athletics seriously as well. You know, if you ain't running track, you know, that's another big piece. Everybody runs track, you know. It just is that competitive. So, so that's probably our second major sport. After, you know, our third sport after football is going to be track.
Quick question as far as high school football. So, you know, you mentioned that you started late, right?
Yeah.
And which is pretty surprising. That's to say that you started to junior and you in what 3-4 years later you're playing professional football.
Yep.
Did you go in wanting to play corner, or did you play other positions? Like how did that work out?
Yeah. So, you know, growing up, I was a running back growing up. And so, and that was my outlet. I'm an only child, and my dad was in the military. My mom was, you know, a special education teacher and elementary principal. And so, you know, there was a lot of discipline in my house. And so, you know, you couldn't get away with shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
for sure.
We all can relate.
And it wasn't no question in it. And they, you know, they just taught me that discipline of things as well. You know, and you know, shout out to my dad. You know, there wasn't a point in time where he ever had like a hair out of place, man. You know what I'm saying? I never saw my dad drunk. I never saw my dad without an edge up, Army uniform, crisp. And to be a Black man, and, you know, we go into the base and you see these white boys saluting him. That's a different, you know, that's also a different world, right?
The man,
right. So the military and that type of discipline and experience, you know, helped me in the development of, you know, everything is a process. And so, you know, I was talented 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. And in 8th grade, you know, my parents split up, and, you know, along with it was kind of my football career, because we were going to different private schools in terms of recruiting. But, you know, when they went their directions, you know, I just was kind of left on my own, you know what I'm saying? And so, that was an interesting time period. And so my mom wanted me to have a 3.0 grade point average. And so it was like, you can't play football unless you have, you know, it wasn't that I had bad grades. She wanted me to have a certain grade point average. And we fought tooth and nail about that shit. You know what I mean? It was, you know, it was like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, no, you know, it was knowing that was my gift, and like pulling it away and for a lesson. And, you know, like you were saying, Bat, like, didn't matter. Like, I still got to the destination of what God had for me. You know what I'm saying? And so, so, you know, having that football, you know, and I've always been fortunate enough to have great coaches around me. My high school coach literally lived in my backyard. And so when my mother basically was like, you got to go live with your dad going into my junior year, you know, I had snuck out on the football team and went through 2 of days. Okay. Yeah. And so, guys, there comes a point in time where, and I feel like I can be real with y'all, like, manipulation comes in many, many forms. You know what I'm saying? And so I started realizing, like, I'm sitting in the house and life is passing me by. And I'm like, I got to control my own destiny by any means possible. Right. And so, I snuck on the football team, and, I share this story with kids, like, and athletes that I train. When I went out there, it was like, okay, man, then you went and played football and it was happily ever after, when I stepped on that field, I was 8th string. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm 8th string. I'm not, there's the starters, there's the backups, and back then there was 2 and 3 back systems. So I'm way at the bottom, and it really tests you. And, like, if this is what you want to do, then you can't look at the circumstance. You got to own your talent and show everybody what you got. That's just what life is. That's just what life is in general. And so, that first week, obviously I ain't going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? I'm still in 8th string. And then I kind of realized something. I'm like, I really don't know the playbook. I don't know the coaches. These guys have a 2-year head start on me. Even though my head coach had seen me growing up in the backyard, I still hadn't played football yet. And he was coming in from another program to coach his kids, which was a really powerful statement because, he coached 4 or 5 pros at Springbrook High School. So he coached Sean Springs, if you've heard of him. He was a cornerback.
Oh, yeah. We know Sean.
Yeah. Sean, so Sean and I ran track against each other. So he left Springbrook, which was a perennial playoff team, to a program in our little small hometown, to coach his kids. And, a lot of people were up in arms, like, what are you doing? But, that looking at that, as far as he wanted to coach his kids and that type of experience and that sacrifice he made of, I don't really care about what y'all think, I'm doing this for my kids. I just always had a respect for him. And Coach Malloy had, so he coached the Diggs brothers, and so that's really cool to have Stefan Diggs as a connection and a former Viking here. So and be coached by the same people is super dope. But I had really great coaches. And the track thing really put me over the edge because in Prince George's County, again, it's all Black. So everybody's nice. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody's fast, but there's a lot of nice cats that are out there. And so I end up as at my first high school, I end up getting to a starting position. And by the time I got to a starting position, my mother's like, "Why is your neck so black?" And I'm like, "What you talking about, right?" She was like, "Well, nigga, you've been playing football." Okay, cool. Get your shit and get going. So my dad comes to pick me up, and it took me probably about 3 weeks to a month to have the courage to ask my father, could I play football? Because I didn't know if he was on the same shit that she was. Yeah. And so he's like, "Man, I've been waiting for you to ask." And so they were already about 2 or 3 games into the season when I went out there for the team. And so my junior year, but I had the blueprint of what it took and not to look at the circumstance. So I had to start that process all over again, right? Of proving myself to a whole new group of people. So like one day I was at one high school, the next day I was at another. And so, football has always been my outlet, and so my junior year, I finished the season with like last 6 games, and then ran outdoor track. I didn't do indoor track that year. And then my senior year, we went to the state championship and lost. And so, I had an opportunity and my football coach, Coach Eric Wade, he played at Syracuse with like Art Monk and all those guys. So, he had an eye for talent. He wanted me to go to Syracuse. And so, it's crazy, guys, because literally 6 months later, I had 14 or 15 offers for football. And so it was getting out of my mom's situation and, you know, going to my father. You know, we talk about that different type of energy. You know, the Colonel's super, you know, he's the coolest nigga I know, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, he's like, man, you do your thing. And so, you know, I went on a couple of different visits, which was crazy. And then, but I ultimately chose Howard University.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to high school, because I have a son. Where is he? He's going upstairs now. He's in middle school now, and you know, dealing with him. You know, I played basketball.
Gotcha.
I played football.
Gotcha.
Middle school. Once I realized my friends are getting swollen, I was still 6'2" in a pencil. I couldn't deal with that.
Gotcha.
So, what advice can you give kids as far as whether it's physically or mentally developing to get ready for high school sports?
You know, I think the biggest piece is to know what your motivation is. You know, I think nowadays, you know, as I watch football and, you know, the science that's now behind it, you know, not everybody's going to be a scholarship player. Not everybody's going to be a first-round draft pick, but you are going to be a first-round draft pick in somebody else's life, whether it's your wife, whether it's your daughter, you know what I mean? So in any sport, know what you want and what your motivation is. And so, you know, if it's girls, you know, if it's the roar of the crowd, if it's the attention, if it's the scholarship, whatever it is, know what your motivation is, and then go about it just unabandonedly, you know. You know, I just remember I didn't know anything about sports performance training, and I would just go out and sprint in the yard. You know, I would run hills. I would, you know, there wasn't a time where I wasn't working hard. And, you know, I think nowadays, especially with the internet and guys like Destroying, right, who's revolutionizing, you know, bringing in social media and attention to student athletes and athletes across the country, you know, it's a enormous media wave that's out there now that, you know, you can, you know, really saturate your own market by marketing yourself with being great at stuff, which you can focus on, you know? And so I believe you got to be great in every single aspect. And I mean, that 3.0 stuff, like with my mother, like that shit hurt. You know what I mean? You know, you're watching your homeboys playing and you're just like, damn, man, like this
I personally had the same issue.
You know what I mean?
From being an all-star in 8th grade to not being able to play in 9th grade because my grades weren't right. It wasn't even close to 3.0. It wasn't even close to 2.0. That's another story. But we ain't having that. You know what I'm saying? Once I got to 9th grade. So I was, like you said, a year behind.
It's real, man. So, you know, and I think my prayer, you guys, you know, as I see, and I've done some cool things. I sit on the board for the Vikings. I'm sitting on their youth board the last couple of years, and you know, seeing where football is going, the different styles of football. You know, it's the same thing with basketball. We're seeing more 3-on-3. They're adopting 3-on-3 now in the Olympics. You know, you've got the NAIA now that are looking at girls playing 7-on-7 football and offering them scholarships with Title IX. You know, there's a lot of avenues now for student athletes, and you know, you've got to make sure that you love it, you know. And I think that's probably the biggest thing, you guys, is like, I love football. I'm watching Texas A&M, Mississippi State right now on the TV. You know what I mean? Like, I went to the Vikings game yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, I love football. And so, you know, it's about that. That was my outlet. That's my best friend. You know what I'm saying? That's something that, you know, as a student of the game, I didn't mind watching film. I didn't mind watching myself. And so, you know, that motivation of what it is, why do you want to do it? I think is a big thing. I love to win. I love to win. And I also love bringing people with me to win. And so, you know, I'm, as an only child, you know, my teammates are my family. You know, my coworkers are my family. That's just kind of how I'm built. So in a team atmosphere, you know, even coaching now in high school, you know, I coach everybody. I coach the offensive linemen. You know, we get into film sessions. You know, everybody deserves to be stroked and loved. But, you know, that motivation has to be intrinsic if you want it. You know, nobody can do it for you, especially when you're the commitment physically doing things, because as you get to that high school level, I do sports performance coaching and train athletes and teach them how to run. And, those 8th, 9th, and 10th graders is critically important because it gets more and more competitive the older that you get. And so if you can get those basic skills and those fundamentals really early, and that's, that 7th and 8th grade, it's going to work itself out in the end, but you got to love it, man. There's not and then it's also borderline obsessive. You know what I mean? It's just what it is.
I love it. And before we take a quick break, the one thing I love, the term that I love that you're using is student athlete.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you learned your lesson, not taking care of that student part and having that athletic part taken away.
Absolutely.
So sometimes I take you learning the hard way, which I did too, to have that happen. Let's take a quick break, join the same link, and we can pick up on your college years at Howard.
Cool. All right.
All right, welcome back. Again, we have Chris Rogers on the show, former Minnesota Viking. Let's get into your college years at Howard University. I heard you mention earlier you had, a few offers, few choices to go to.
Yep.
What made you choose Howard?
Oh man, I gotta take it back to my father, man. Him being a Q, I would run down to the basement as a little kid. I see his paddle, I see his line jacket, so seeing that purple and gold, and obviously the letters, I knew that it meant something to him, right? And so growing up, seeing that, he had it, that's insignia in the windshield of the car. So, Shaw University is where my parents met. And so HBCUs, my dad would take me, him being from North Carolina, in Greensboro, he would take me to the A&T games when they would come to Morgan State. And so, my grandparents gave me, Black history books that I would read, on rainy nights and look at our history that happened before slavery, right? And so growing up with the Cosby Show, and then A Different World was behind that, right? And so, these messages were kind of hitting me of like, Black is really the thing to be. And so, having parents that were also, high level professionals, there was a standard. And, I can remember one of my neighbors who went to Howard with me, Stacy Robinson. We've been the same school since the 5th grade, and her older sister went to Howard. And I remember, my mom just being so proud of like, Howard, like, what's the deal with Howard? And she was like, Christopher, that's the Black Harvard. That's, the creme de la creme. That's the best of the best. And so, that always kind of stuck with me. And, I think also, the recruiting happens so fast. You guys got to remember, I came there at the junior year, played a few games, but then that senior year playing a full season, all of a sudden we lose the state championship. I walk into the library. I thought I was in trouble. It was like, hey, we need, they named 3 or 4 of us, we need you guys in the office at, 4 p.m., in the library. We sitting there saying, oh shit, what might've happened, man? We were scared as shit. Well, we walk in there and it was nothing but all college coaches, around the table. And so, as I sat down, even though I was heartbroken from that Saturday evening from a state championship, that Monday really started that brand new chapter of really college recruiting. And, now you got people calling you every night. You've got people coming to visit you. But my first offer was from Rayford Petty, who was a defensive coordinator at Howard University. And so, Marshall was at the table, James Madison, Youngstown State. The bigger offers didn't come in till later on, but because I didn't have a ton of playing time, they said they kind of pigeonholed me as like a 1AA guy, which I didn't matter, because at the end of the day, I chose Howard, which was, and that was the thing, was looking at, do I want to go to school for a brand, or do I want to go to school that's going to fit my culture and really my beliefs? And so, going on those visits to those schools, there were crazy, there were crazy recruiting stories, and the racism was so heavy on those campuses that it was like,
turn off.
Man, it was serious, man.
That's some backwood country towns there.
It's serious, man. And so, you learn very quickly, student athletes, are of African-American descent. You learn very quickly that the campus is all white. And a visit that I went on, the campus police rolled up on us, sat us on the curb with flashlights on us, and I'm thinking, nah, man.
Oh, that's a killer.
That's not what it is. That's not what it is.
Listen, that ain't. I don't need to go to another place after that. But going on Howard's visit, we had a party at the Howard Hotel, which was no longer there, which is historical. With the likes of Marvin Gaye and all the different artists that used to play at the Howard Theater. There was a snowball fight with about 3,000 people. And I'm like, man, sign me up. You know what I'm saying? And of course, you're looking at all these beautiful women where you like, it's like 20-21 to 1 there. You know what I'm saying? And so,
that's still a deal.
Yeah, it's a little, DC's a little bit different, and so, then you get the great education, right? You get a rich history, and you get a really great education. And so, I got larger offers, signing day, but, Coach Steve Wilson, my parents had known about him when they were in college. And so I remember my dad saying, hey, he was this fantastic football player. He broke his ankle, and Howard was the only place that offered him. And his dad was a big time NFL player in the 50s. And so Steve, played at Howard, went on to go play for the Dallas Cowboys and Landry, and then went to Denver with Dan Reeves and lost a few Super Bowls with John Elway. And so, when Steve comes and sits in your room, your family room, and takes you home from Howard, and like, man, no, I'm taking you, I'm driving you home. And, he sat down with me and my dad in the living room and said, man, your son can play in the NFL one day. And, it wasn't just listening to that piece, it was the credibility of somebody recognizing your talent, taking a chance on me, because obviously I've only played 1.5 years of football. And, the connection that I had on campus was nothing like it, because it went back to, being around all black kids. And these were the next generation, of entrepreneurs and richness. I went to school with Ahmad Rashad, you know what I mean? I got a chance to meet Felicia Rashad. I got, I saw Biggie on campus, we booed Maxwell at homecoming. There's just Diddy on campus.
You know what? That's some hate.
Just wild shit,
he just kind of glazed over that.
Yeah, he gonna glaze on that Christmas. We understand the hate that you had for Maxwell that night. We get it. Trust me, we get why I hated on him that night. Because y'all know y'all had no chance that night.
We made believers out of dreamers, man. So, he got booed at Howard, and then all of a sudden it's like the Apollo. You blow up,
That man was from Harlem. He wasn't no civilizing him in the first. Well, he's from Brooklyn. You couldn't civilize him in the first place. But y'all try to humble him. I get you. Y'all hating cats for the night, but
try to.
Y'all can't. Y'all worse. Well, y'all try to be worse than us in New Orleans. We booed Alicia Keys at essence. So hey, man, we understand.
We get the soul down there. We get y'all history. We respect it. We all respect.
Yeah.
It. We respect.
So yeah, that's a great experience as far as HBCUs. What was? Let me ask you this. So, in the years past, as far as NFL players, there's been always a good crop of players coming from HBCUs. We have Hall of Famers, all-time greats at multiple positions, but for some reason, I kind of feel like it was like the mid to late 90s to the mid 2000s. There was not as many players coming out of HBCUs. Do you have any insight why you think that's the case? Or
Yeah. You guys know what's going on down at Jackson State with Deion Sanders. We're all very familiar with what's happening all over the country with HBCUs, and you got Eddie George at Tennessee State. You got Hugh Jackman down at Jackson, down at Grambling. And so, now I can say Coach Wilson and the Howard staff, all of my coaches, except for Ray Petty, who was Aeneas Williams' coach at Southern. So that's a kind of a connection. Yeah, there's some connection and some weaving that happens in HBCU football, where a lot of the spread that was happening when Florida State had that with Charlie Ward in '93. That spread was done by FAMU. FAM and Florida State, FAM is in the same, the town is only so big. It's just
peeking over the fence.
Right. Yeah. So at the end of the day, those guys are doing 7-on-7 on somebody. It's not like everybody split up. At Howard, we would go to University of Maryland and beat their ass. They come to our turf, we beat their ass. We went around looking for fights, in terms of football. In terms of richness of football playing, my senior year, there was 8 of us that went to the NFL, coming out of Howard University. And so, somewhere along the line, I know when I was with the Vikes, there was probably 18 players from HBCUs. And they were all over the SWAC. I played in the All-Star game down in Florida my senior year, coming out of Howard. And, they put a ton of us in camp. And, Denny Green really believed that football players were football players. Jake Reed was a product of Grambling. Jake Reed was my generation of Jerry Rice, right? And so, it was really cool to go to camp with guys from Mississippi Valley State and Southern and Howard and South Carolina State. And, the MEAC and the SWAC was really well represented. John Randall's from a small Black college. There's like you said, there's tons of Hall of Famers that, come from HBCUs. When I came up, as you guys know, it was LSU, it was Florida, it was Georgia, it was Florida State, it was Miami. It was all those deep Southern schools. And so, when you start getting Black players that are elite and thinking about going to an HBCU, you look at Deion Sanders, he's getting all these 5 stars, and they're saying, well, Deion, how did you do it? Deion said, I just invited them to a football game. They get a chance to see 45,000 Black people in one place frying chicken and fish. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, and beautiful Black women. They're already coming from an all Black area, probably 9 times out of 10. So then you get an opportunity to see even more rich history of the next Black professionals that are going to school and going to do great things. The amount of doctors and lawyers and trainers and VPs at Nike. My homeboy Omar McGee's got his, luxury vehicles. That's the top show. Cats that you just, you shooting basketball with and eating in the cafeteria are doing major things. And so, the NFL and especially Division 1A schools, that's the only thing they have is the food and the facilities and getting you drafted and making money. So they're going to ignore, we talked about that manipulation, right? That manipulation is ignoring you. I know you're good. I know there's some talent there, but if I go over there, then I've got to really recognize it. And then other guys, all it's going to take is facilities. If Howard had facilities, we'd be a top 5 school.
So
if these HBCUs had real facilities, you go down to Clemson. Clemson is a mile in a circle, and then you're out of there. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no big, huge, monumental place. But they've got facilities, and they know they have a commitment to excellence. And I think at HBCUs, there's a commitment to academic excellence. Right. And so, that you know your long-term investment is in your graduation and you know your connection and alumni in terms of the school, where you know Division I is about you gonna get your money and get drafted. You're not going to get an experience, but you're going to get some cash later on down the road if they draft you.
So one thing I think with HBCUs, and you kind of alluded to it, I think a lot of the bigger schools have looked at HBCUs, taking their play calling style, you know, whether it's on offense and defense, and adapt to that. And so, like you said, it might have been a style that people will go to HBCUs for that reason, but now there's schools that have a facility, you know what I'm saying? Again, understanding what their personal motivation is, hey, we can play that style as well as have this big funding as far as a facility. So, yeah, you know, like you said, Jackson State is I think with Dion, he's probably going to be the, you know, of current times working his way to get into a big
the new facilities they have in Jackson State right now. They just built that one that they can compete a little bit. Yeah, it's you know, they get them that atmosphere what they like what Florida just did, but it's not to the full scale, but it's in that wheelhouse though. Yeah, it's in the wheelhouse. So now they can look some people in the eyes saying, here, you're still gonna get that full, you're getting a good training facilities. You know, we're gonna work out nice. You got new equipment, you know, stuff that these other schools are selling to them, but now you just doing it, like you said, where you got more of yourself around that. And you don't see the low key, how many white boys are actually at Jackson State too right now. They don't like to highlight that, but I see a good like 10 to 15 more than you thought you would see. Yeah. This is quietly up in there.
Yeah. Well, another one is like the baseball teams at HBCUs. I forgot what's your boy name, Roy Wood Jr., the comedian. He was saying like when he played, he's like, it's really slept on. It's like those baseball teams are majority white boys, HBCUs. So
and they want to get around, you know, they want to get around our you know, and that's you know, as quarterbacks nowadays, you know, that's what makes Tom Brady so special, because you can be a California kid and you know have AB sleeping in your house. You have to be a certain type of personality to accept and be able to flow with people.
That kind of ignorance. To keep in your house is real. Hey, that's special.
Hey, but that house has to be big enough for them to be on separate sides, I'm sure.
I know, but still to be comfortable enough to keep that in your house is still a different. Let's keep it real. That's still different. He is from South Florida.
Dude. He's a different side.
He's from Liberty City.
Different.
Relax.
We talked enough about him. We're gonna let him live this episode.
Nah, never let him live. Hey, man, come on. We will never let him live. Nah, remember, I'm a Hurricane fan, so I know he's to the highest level.
Last thing I had about HBCUs. So I went to University of Louisiana Lafayette. Okay. And it's not an HBCU. However, some of my friends used to argue because the people that live on campus made it feel like an HBCU.
Okay.
What do you have to say? Because I get it, but I don't agree. What do you think about that? Like, is there a way to mimic that? Like you said, some of these larger schools, they can take the play styles, but can you make that culture?
Yeah, man. I think you know, I think there's a few kind of prerequisites to be at HBCU. You know, you gotta your campus number one has to have at least 500 or 600 people that are going to be in, what do you call them? Student, what are they called? Man, what is happening with all the black, like the student caucuses? Mm-hmm. Just imagine that's the whole campus. Yes. Yes. The Black Student Council, like, you know, there's, you know, they might throw get-togethers and stuff on campus with maybe 40 or 50 people. Yeah. At a black college, it's everybody is connected. You know, everybody is connected. So yeah, and it's and you know, Howard was dope because you were 2 hours away from everything. You were 2 hours from the beach, you were 2 hours from New York, you were 2 hours from North Carolina. And so, you know, the campus would grow pretty dead, you know, on Fridays, you know, after football season, the basketball season was over, because everybody would kind of travel around and really do their thing, man. But you know, HBCUs are special, man. And, you know, I'm hoping, you know, I know down in the SWAC, you know, FAMU does a great job of their alumni and boosters. You know, we really have to really use our economic wealth, because that's what Clemson does. You know what I mean? Clemson ain't a big school. You know, I've been down to a few games, and it's not a big place, but there's so much alumni that just throw money at the football program. You know, it makes, you know, every dollar makes a difference. And so we need to be doing that at HBCUs. Every game should be a homecoming game. Every game, you know, think about that type of business opportunities. You know, if you guys ever get a chance, man, go to a Howard homecoming and, you know, seeing 60, 70, 80, 100,000 people in one place at one time is
bananas. That's how Bayou Classic.
You know, for sure. Yep, the Bayou. Yeah. Sorry, man.
Same thing.
You know what? I was thinking Louisiana. I wasn't thinking New Orleans. Yeah, I was.
The Bayou Classic alone, that's our world.
You got it. But you know what that is. Y'all know what that is.
But still, though, I say Howard Power is more upscale.
Agreed.
I think y'all think that. You know, I think a lot of people think how, you know.
No, we know y'all now. You know, the niggas is there now. We know y'all some niggas.
Wait. You got to think of the demographics of the college. Hold on.
Yes,
the demographics of the college. You said 50% is New York.
Right.
50% ain't DC.
Right.
50% is New York. You've got another probably 15 to 10% that's going to be LA and California.
Yep.
Then you get a little bit of Louisiana, Texas, and Florida. So those are your major places. And then DC is probably the last kind of sliver at maybe 5%. Right. So a large portion is,
that's sophistication, though.
We high sedity.
No. That's sedity. That's still
that's a complex, man. That's a color complex. That's like you being mad that, you know, you're darker than me. You know what I'm saying? Like that don't make a lot of sense, man.
True. Right. You got a good point.
Come on, man. Somebody got to be number one. Somebody got to be the best. You know what I mean? Somebody's got to.
I ain't gonna lie. I prefer to go to a Howard homecoming than I do the Bayou Classic. I'll say that.
What?
Hey, man. I'm East Coast bias, man. Remember now. I have that East Coast energy in the soul, man.
Let me tell you. I had my surprise party 4 years ago, and the whole thing of it was I was supposed to go to this baby shower and then the battle of the bands. And then when the surprise party happened, I'm like, wait, we still going to battle bands, right?
Yeah. Don't be shorting me on the Bayou Classic. Yeah. We still got to have this event.
No, we ain't going. Oh, wow. Thank you.
Nah.
This party is nice.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Chris, this is Tony Love. This is our articulate one of the clique.
All right, Tony, are you in Delirious Brothers?
He's research report. He's our research department.
Okay, gotcha. Y'all brothers or no?
No.
Brothers from another mother, man.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So my mother's a Smith. My mother's a Smith. So
okay.
Yeah.
So let's get into your professional years.
Yep.
So playing with the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm a Tennessee Titans fan. However, some of my favorite players of all time, football-wise, have played for the Vikings, whether it's Randall Cunningham.
Yeah.
Before middle school, when I was, trying to be a quarterback, I wanted to run and throw like Randall.
Yep.
Everybody that tall that played receiver loves Randy Moss, Chris Carter.
Yep. I don't like Chris Carter. Put me in that list.
I'm talking about his playing years. We ain't talking about some of the stuff he's done.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But anyway,
as a player.
Okay. My
first
bad.
downs and touchdowns. So, how was as a rookie, how was your quote unquote being baptized into the next level, right? Coming from college, like how big of a jump it felt like for you to go to the next level of professional football?
I had my senior year and even in college, what I think people forget about college sports and especially scholarship athletes at the Division I level is your athletic prowess, your academics, all those, provide you an opportunity to choose what schools you want to go to. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so what happens is they think, oh, Howard, and it's like, oh, them cats ain't nice. You know what I'm saying? It's like, the guys that I played with, were hand selected by NFL players.
Yep.
So that means that these guys are, you know, similar to every guy that signs Division 1A, you get on an NFL radar. Well, we not only have, we have more than radars, you know, we got the generals in the room, right, in terms of coaches. And so the athletes that we had, you know, there was no slow guys. Every guy at my school was, you know, we had receivers that were 6'4" that ran 4.5s all the way down to 5'7" that ran 4.3s. And so there was no, you know, in terms of the jumps, you know, Ted Sweet Flight White, you know, he's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He was our quarterback, broke all the MEAC records. You know, now he's coaching in the NFL. Pep Hamilton, you guys might have heard of him. He was our backup quarterback. You know, he was at Michigan, and now he's with the Chargers as a quarterback coach there.
He's with Houston Texans. He's OC there.
Yep. Roy Anderson. He's a DB coach here with the Vikings. So, you know, we had rich coaches and very talented guys, you know. So my sophomore year, I'll tell you this quick story. My coach Wilson calls me down in the summertime and gives me a Sports Illustrated article. And he said, "Hey man, I want you to read this article quick." And I said, so, you know, at the time, ain't no ESPN, you know what I mean? Ain't none of that stuff. I mean, Sports Illustrated was the magazine back then, right? It was the media coverage. So anyway, I go up to the dorm, I plop it down, I start kind of reading through it, going page by page, and it gets to a story on Randy Moss. And so as I'm reading through the story, you know, it's saying, hey, this guy is 6'4", state champion and track and football and basketball, you know, the #1 player in the country. And so, you know, as I'm reading and going through it, I'm like, man, the kid was nice. So, you know, it talks about him going to Notre Dame. I'm like, okay, man, he's going to go to Notre Dame. He got kicked out of Notre Dame, goes to Florida State, you know, and ends up getting kicked out of Florida State. And so, you know, it talks about him now going back to West Virginia. And he hated the fact that all the brothers wanted to go to school together, because people forget Randy Moss's brothers went to Ohio State. So them cats was nothing that, you know what I mean? The whole family are athletes. They didn't just, you know what I mean? It ain't just him, you know what I mean? So, so he was mad that because they wanted to put a deal together for all three of them to go to West Virginia, and they said no. So Randy was pissed and decided, I'm not going to go to West Virginia. I'm going to go to Marshall so that I can beat up on West Virginia. As they did my brother Jerry, which they did. If you know anything about Marshall, Randy went out there and put on a clinic on their ass. So anyway, so as I'm reading the article, I'm like, wow, man, this dude must be super nice. And then I started thinking, and so I look at the schedule. The first game of the season is Marshall. So you know, I got a chance to play against Moss, his first game ever. You know, he hit me with a post corner and roasted me for a touchdown. But after that, I clamped him up. So he had like 3 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown. And so, you know, they were really trying to attack me after that and really held my own. And so, you know, after that game, I thought I really played badly because, I mean, I put it all out on the line. I was so physically exhausted. Because after a while, I'm like, you know, this nigga's too long and tall. I can't be off on it. I need to press his ass. You know what I mean? I need to go and bump and run him. And so that's what I did for the rest of the game, is really kind of get in his way and slow him down in terms of some of my technique and mechanics. And so that game, you know, that was one first-round draft pick I played against. I played against Donald Driver, you know, as a senior. I mean, as a freshman in college. You know, so in the MEAC, you know, you're playing against SWAC teams too that are having guys in camp. You know, they may not make it the team, but even to get to camp, you got to be nice because there's only 2 spots, man. You know, I mean, that's just how the NFL is. They've got their guys, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But so that game, Jackson State, my senior year, they had a first-round draft pick. There was 2 first-round draft picks out of Jackson State that year. There was a receiver. He went to Kansas City, and then Sylvester Morris. I played against him. We locked his ass down up at Howard. and then they had a safety too that out of Carolina who just died recently. They had.
Oh yeah. I heard. I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. For Richard, Richard something. I can't remember.
Right.
But they had Jackson State when they came up our senior year had -6 passing yards. We just destroyed them niggas. We were playing. We were acting a fool up there, man, and they just didn't know what to do. So I had played against first round draft picks before. So getting the call, that was a strange transition of trying to go from, okay, I played in the all-star game. I ran a 4.38 on grass 2 or 3 times. And then my homeboy, Jamie Oates, he went to South Carolina State. He's a Kappa, crazy dude, man. He was the all-star game, MVP of the all-star game. And Jamie could fly. He was from Miami. Track dude, 10, 300 guy. So I mean, Jamie could fly. And so it was crazy because I'm like, man, I hope I never see this dude again, man. You know what I mean? Like, this dude was incredible. I think he had 2 interceptions in the game, a punt return to the house. So I'm like, this dude just took over. This dude is just serious, man. So fly to Eden Prairie. They fly you out. I signed a contract, which was great. And I got like a $1,500 signing bonus, man. So, Uncle Sam took out $300-400. I bought me a pair of 2 small Air Jordans and put the rest in the bank, man. And so anyway, I get out here to Eden Prairie for mini camp and literally open the door and this nigga's on the bed. I'm like, damn. And they got the best 2 guys, I think in black college football. And you really know at that time it's me or you, and that's and you're getting up every morning, you know what I mean? Like, one of y'all got to go. And so you learn real quick the nature of the business of like, oh shit, like this is your competition. And so that first day, I really wanted to see what my football number was, because if they gave me like a 47 or like a number 49, nigga, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? So niggas on the team, like, hey man, you should if they give you anything higher than 20, it's over, man. You're gonna be here, you're gonna be back here before you know it. So I couldn't sleep that night. It was like Christmas, obviously. And so I was the first one at the facility, just to soak everything in, you know what I mean? And just not have anybody around you and you're walking, you're walking up that ramp, you open the door, it's got the purple floors and, you're just looking around the locker rooms and, you're seeing, Robert Smith, you're seeing, Randall Cunningham, their nameplates, and you're realizing, how real this is, and so, I go to my locker and I see 29. And I'm like, woo, hey, you know what? I can do this shit. You know what I'm saying? I can do this shit.
Confidence boost instantly.
It was, hey, I was so excited, man. I'm like, hey, it's a 6 upside down. You know what I mean? So it's 29. And so, that first day, you guys was like, I got to make a first impression. They had drafted a kid, Kenny, right in front of me. Kenny, played at Northwest Louisiana. Yep. Kenny was a 6'1" corner. We 22 years old driving the Cadillac CTS. I mean, he was a boot through and through. Orlando Thomas, from out there. So there was that pride, that I also had at Howard with a lot of guys that were from Louisiana, and so I there was always that richness to their spirit, man. It was always super dope. So it was, when you go out there, you have to separate yourself from, now it's a job to, and executing to the best of your ability. And so, I hadn't seen Randy and Randy at that time was coming off of his rookie year, which he broke all those records. And so, I'm thinking like, I don't know if the nigga know me, or whatever the case may be, but we stayed away from each other for that first day of practices, that second practice, the second 2-a-day we had,
He know you.
Well,
is when we had an opportunity
Chris,
to get,
Chris, hold it busy. Hold it. Let's take a quick break. We want to pick up with this story because I know where this is going.
All right.
So let's bring this back and we can pick up
and
from
he
there.
Know
we can
you.
also get and we can talk about your post playing years as
all right,
well.
what time we want to get back at?
3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes. Okay. All right. Cool.
All right, picking up where we left off. So Chris, you were getting into your reacquaintance with Randy Moss.
Yep.
How did that go after having a successful game against him in college? Was he aware of who you were at that particular point?
That's a great question. It was funny because at Howard, I didn't really pay the stats really any attention. My coach Greg Butler, he was a Deion Sanders of the CFL, if you can imagine that. Now, Greg, from DC, he coached at UDC. He won 6 Grey Cups. So that lets you know how legit he was in terms of. So he played with Flutie. He played with Warren Moon. Won Super Bowls with those guys. And so up in Canada, it's 3 downs up there. The football is completely different. And it's really it's geared toward, corners and wide receivers. So it's a speed game. And so he brought different techniques in terms of playing the position. And remember, with my limited experience in football, I was just really clay to him to form. And so, I could run fast. I was physical. I weighed enough. And so learning the technique stuff, it was also brand new to me. So, I got a chance to, start every game as a freshman. So I started all 4 years. So there wasn't anything in terms of receivers that I hadn't seen before. And so, again, the receivers we had at Howard were anywhere from 6'4" all the way down to 5'10". So there was so many different, flavors. And in Black college, they giving all the dead legs, they giving all that wiggle. They're not white routes where they come, when you play the University of Maryland, you like, is that all y'all doing? Let me show you how we do it, So when you play against that type of talent and you play against that type of, those type of flavors, you don't bite on a whole lot of things. And I love to practice. I really did. And those years I didn't get to play football, now I'm entrenched in it. And so if Cass is like, hey man, we going up to the field, let's do some one-on-ones, there might be 7 receivers I have to go against, but I'm getting all of that work. You know what I'm saying? I get to learn all of their routes, everything that they're doing and all the idiosyncrasies. So when I'm playing and I'm playing against guys and I'm studying guys, in college, my guys I'm practicing against, our first team guys are better and second team guys are starter anywhere else. And you got to remember, these guys were getting recruited by North Carolina. They were getting recruited by Florida. They chose to go to Howard to play. So, that's what you're getting. You're getting guys that are like, I'm going there because that school means something to our community and our culture. And so, Randy went to a visit to Howard, an unofficial visit. So, people understand the importance of Black colleges. It's getting more and more recognized as well. But, playing against him, playing against a lot of guys that got shots in camp, that's all you can ask for. If you got a chance to get into camp, you're pretty elite. You're pretty special for them to invite you to see what's behind, the veil. And, at that level, that it is political and it is ultra competitive. And so, there's 2 spots and there's 4 of you. Or 5 of you. That's just what it is. And you take your chances and let the chips fall where they may. So, that first practice, getting out there, I got a chance to cover Jake Reed 3 times and did really well. And so, I batted down 1 pass. He tried to run an out and up. And then at that rep, I kind of knew Chris is going to be slower. Chris Carter's going to be a little bit slower, a little more wiggly, even though he was 6'4". And then Randy is going to be the speed guy where, good luck, Chuck. So that was that first day. And I really closed it out, and so much so Kenny kind of ran up on the side of me like, hey man, you had a nice little practice today. And so I knew if he saw it, they saw it. And so, my mindset was, just grind, just work, how to play. And receivers that big take a long time to break down and change direction. And so, I knew, I want you to try to beat me deep. And so even at Howard, I only gave up 6 touchdowns my whole career. And so, I was a technician through and through. And so that second day I got a chance to go with Randy, and, he's next level, man. That's just another, some people are born to do certain things, man. And that's just a gift that, he has, to be 6'5", run a 4.2, have a 43 or 44 inch vertical. I mean, that's insane, so, just an incredible athlete where, your 100% is his 80%. And when you can play with your speed like that, is really incredible. And so, he just took it to another level. I think if he had a really kind of killer instinct, in him to dominate every single game, he would have blown, every record out of the books, because there's nobody that will ever be as good as him, period. Yeah. So
yeah, his physical talents like you said, at that size, to have the speed, the agility, the ball, high point the ball, like you said, there's not many people that can put all those check marks together at that size.
It's insane. But so that's really got me, and again, I go back to, I'm playing against these guys in practice every day. So then when the season begins, you're playing against guys and you're like, you're not going to do anything to me because, Randy been doing me all week.
You're not Randy. Yeah.
He's been doing me dirty all week. So, whatever you got, I'm game for. And so I got a chance to play against Jerry Rice. I got a chance to play against, Emmitt Smith and ran into him and chopped it up in a bar and laughed about, him breaking his hand. There's just some really great memories of, playing with all these Hall of Famers, man. I get on the horn with these guys, every few months, and, you're just kind of blown away at the opportunity to see what was behind the veil and to be coached by, Coach Green and all those Black coaches that they had that were, former national championship coaches. And it was just an incredible education in terms of, being at that level. And then, you see the other side of the business once you get hurt, and I think that's the tough part of the business that is the business of professional sports is injury, because eventually you're going to get injured.
Hey, Chris, can you break it down to them how you broke it down to me, though, about when players are getting waived?
About
the players being on a flight.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I've seen some rough things from guys get hurt, but they have those practices split up, especially when you were doing 2-a-days back then. 2-a-days were 2-a-days. And so you had 2 practices a day, full equipment for 2.5 hours a piece. And when a guy goes down, that GM's job is to get somebody in immediately. And so, by the time, they wheel you out, that guy's touching down. They picked him up at the airport. He's already in the facility, with that number on, a few hours later, they've got lists of guys off the street where they just ready to call and get going. So, when you get hurt also, you go into a second contract. And so a lot of times that's why you see these guys really trying to get back as soon as possible, because it's the difference between me making, $5 million for this year, or when I get hurt, I make 300,000. Now cats is like, man, I got to get that quick. And so that's where you see
that
guys,
makes sense.
doing, you see guys using drugs because they have to mask those injuries, right? Like, them racehorses, right? Getting that Lasix, like you got to get your body going because that next guy is on your ass who's been sitting in the film room with you, waiting for you to fall down, waiting for your ankle to get twisted. So, because that's what you're playing for in the NFL is reps. You're trying to take another man's reps so that way they can see you, they can trust you, they can put you on the field. You play on the field, you're able, and you play well, you're able to make a good living for yourself.
Love it. That's good, because I'm thinking about I had a high school teammate. He got injured. He went from being the Titans' leading receiver to breaking his ankle to being out the league. Like, that's a big drop off to being a team's number one receiver to not playing no more after you break your ankle. Like you said, that makes sense. You negotiating that second contract. I think he signed with the Redskins, but he just wasn't right from that point on.
Nobody cares about the Titans.
Look here, we're not doing this with you today.
Man.
I almost said something, but I don't want to get you fired. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to get you fired. We got to keep that connection. You know what I'm saying? With the
we need we not press pass and stuff. So relax, calm down.
You almost made me say something. But with that said, post playing career, I see that you're doing training. You're in the education. Like how has that transition been, and how you feel you're impacting kids?
Man. The parent, the standard my parents set, I think, was always you're on stage, always be a professional, always be clean cut. When you leave this house, you represent us. And so, my mom being in education, she would drive me to summer school, and her being in special education, I saw deaf kids, I saw deformed kids, I saw kids with emotional behavior disorders, and the kids were kids. My dad ran a JROTC program, for years in Baltimore City, and watching the impact he had with children after his career was over, and providing that leadership and that standard for kids in that area. And so, Howard is all about truth and service. And so, that's really how I approach my, my life. It's crazy. All the coaches that I talked to you about, from Coach Haberlin, my little league coach, to Coach Day, who was my middle school coach, to Coach Malloy, Coach Romeo, Coach Wade, I was telling you, at Syracuse, Coach Wilson. I mean, I've had such great coaches. Coach Butler was, like I said, the Dion of the CFL. Like, I've been fortunate to have great men, black or white, in my life that, I get the lessons, right? I've had a rich, wealth of knowledge in terms of sports and sportsmanship and academics. And so the kids have always called me Coach Rogers. I've never been a mister in my, my 13 years in education. And so, the kids call my dad, and family call my dad Colonel Rogers. And so Coach Rogers is, a term of endearment I take seriously, because it's like having one like the Colonel. But they truly, set that standard, man. And so, that's how I approach my work. I look at every staff I go into as a team. I don't do favorites. I treat everybody fairly. And, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and that's how I build really trust and relationship with my kids and their parents. And it's about servitude. And so, as much as you guys, I would have loved to have played 10, 15 years. That just wasn't in the cards for me, but it gave me an opportunity to see what's behind the veil and use what, God gave to me. I mean, this afternoon I had, one of the Vikings alumni directors come over and get some cupcakes. It's about relationships. And what I did, even though I played a short time, that connection that I have with that community, to this day, it's all about relationships. That's the wealth, I've had in my life is, the people. Randall Cunningham, I lived in Las Vegas with for, 3 years, you know what I'm saying? And so, again, having a great mentor, where I'm a 23-year-old kid from DC in, Minnesota, where in October it's snowing, 5-6 inches. And, him take me under his wing. My grandparents on my mom's side were from Atlantic City. They were huge Randall Cunningham fans. I mean, that was pretty cool to have that connection of, my grandfather's love of him. And now he's sitting literally in the locker in front of me, or I'm going to his house for Thanksgiving, or he's flying me out for a honeymoon. But, if anything, the NFL teaches you is maximizing your opportunities and maximizing your relationships. Definitely. And taking it seriously. And so, I have my fun, but at the same time, there's a job to do, especially with these young folks nowadays, that need, you need more than just a teacher. They need guidance, and above all, they need opportunity. And so, I'm all about action. Me and my dad, we talked about the HBCUs and how homecoming should be every single weekend to really be able to, create Black wealth within our own community. I grew up with Jewish people and I watched that type of stuff, you know what I mean? Where people were investing and things of that nature where, so again, and having a father in the military, you driving down the block, you driving all over the base and these white boys are stopping and saluting, that's a game changer. That's a get it done. You know what I mean? Get it done. You work hard for what you got. And so that's what I've been doing the last few years is, I'll be finished up with my master's here in March. And so, it's all about just improvement. And, I enjoy coaching as well, and developing athletes and getting them to college. That's, I've probably put, 60 some kids in college. And so, it's all about training, and I train anything from softball girls, 75 softball girls to one-on-one training for, seniors that are trying to, go to a national combine. And so, I take all of that information that I've learned from coaches, over the years and training myself, and just apply it and make sure that, it's efficient as possible. And make sure, especially with educating these youth, that they have somebody to look up to and it's obtainable. I can talk about LeBron. We can watch him in the gym. You know what I'm saying? But there's, or TV, and that's why him going to those gyms are so impactful, because now people can see you, touch them. They can touch you, right? I mean, it's, this is a billionaire. This is a king walking around. We can talk about the championships and the comparison, but this nigga's a fucking king. You know what I'm saying? This is $1 billion king. And who's doing these
pro-ams. We're doing these pro-ams right now.
Come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing it for y'all. I don't have to. I can sit in the pool if I want, but I'm fitting to show you and so you can touch it and feel it. And, that's why I respect it, man. And so that's what I feel, it's like, we all have that gift with our families and our children and within our profession and our church and our community. We owe us that, you know what I mean? And I think that's what, my life has really shown me, especially, watching the Cosby Show. I had the Cosbys at my house, you know what I'm saying? Watching a different world. My cousins went to Hampton, my friend's family, went to Hampton. So seeing all this imagery, I know the importance of having Black leadership in those homes. I know our Black females can get on our fucking nerves sometimes, but at the same time, it's you guys that wealth that you're creating within your children, is ultimately where it's at. And so I was fortunate to have great opportunities with great people, like I said, the Colonel opened up so many doors that, I just needed to run through.
Love it.
Right. Yes.
Last question I got for you. Who's faster, you or Sean? I know y'all had to have this conversation.
It's Sean, man. Sean is I can tell him Sean's shoulders. He probably
that's a lie.
Now, if you said football, if you said, hey, if he lined up on you, who would win? then that's a different track football. I'm not a track guy. I'm not a track guy. I'm not that fast.
Well, that answered my question, then. Hey, I know I'm still the fastest. Well, I know I'm still the fastest, then. I'm good in these streets. So I can sleep
Ty
on that
King
quite
is
well.
a track guy. He's, him and Sean were the two on the block that were always ready to race.
So what you running at 100 then? What you running at 100?
I see me. I was lazy. I didn't do it like I should have.
Now, see, when you say some shit like that, that means you ain't fast. So,
no.
You start making excuses and shit. It's a number, man. It's a data number, man. It ain't no.
Hey, I never ran. I never got an opportunity.
Look who showed up.
Legitimately.
Look who showed up over here. Look. He heard running. Now all of a sudden he here. Okay.
We got fellowship.
Sean, who had who? Who was faster, Sean? You gonna tell the truth? Tell the truth, Shane the Devil.
Here it is right here.
Twin. Oh, he must be.
Oh, now he in pros. Yeah. Nah, he know I had that. I just never ran track fully like I should have.
It's me. Yeah.
Well, how you know you're faster than me if you never had a time? You just saying because you beat Sean.
I always used to smoke him. I always used to smoke him, so that's all I know.
He said he would never go back. I'm like,
he said smoking. How bad is smoke? How many yards would you beat him by? 2-3 steps?
Oh, nah. Good 5.
5 steps?
Yeah.
Sean, what's Ty King running 100, man?
You're on mute, man.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
What now?
What's Ty King ranking 100? What's estimate? Since we know he didn't do it officially. Based on what we was running against each other on the street.
Easy. 10-6.
Okay.
Easy. Let me tell you why. Because here's the thing. I ran.
I had a colonel. See, I had a colonel in my house. I had something way different. I had Nino Brown in my house. It's bad for no reason. I had the energy.
I'm not making it up. I mean, I was running 10-7, so he was faster than me. So he in that 10 range.
You said 10-5. You said 10-5. I'll get that to him. I'm not close to 10-5.
He was fast now. He was fast.
Yeah, I'm not. That's track stuff. I'm football.
Yeah.
I happen to run track. I'm a competitor in run track, but I'm not a track guy.
Tony Love, you got a lot to say. What you want to say, man? I see it all in your face.
All I said, the older we get, the better we work. That's all it is.
I know how. I know I'm a slowpoke, so I ain't that fast. But 10-5 is rolling. You rolling, Tide King. You rolling.
Mm-hmm.
I get mad at myself that I didn't do the track thing, but the facilities at my school I had.
Yeah.
Nah, I wouldn't have made it out of that state. I'd have tore every knee, ankle up on. We didn't have the best facilities. So I was about to go run out there and hurt myself with that subpar stuff we had.
Speaking about speed, Chris, did you share the story that you shut Randy Moss down?
Yeah. I told him about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right, just making sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I told him about that.
Cool.
Yeah.
That I was telling him that's the game that got me into the NFL. But
and that tape got lost, huh?
Oh yeah, I didn't. Yeah, the tape got lost.
Tape got lost
conveniently.
Right.
But like I said, Coach Wilson and those guys, Fred Dean, who played for the Redskins, he was original Hog. He was an offensive line coach. Otis Wansley, he was a running back at for the Redskins. Sandy Shivers was an defensive tackle, defensive end for the Tennessee Oilers. Like I said, man, all of my coaches played in the NFL, so the contacts they had, they were phone calls away. We didn't need agents. We just got our contracts, and because they were like, hey, they ain't gonna pay y'all. You know what I mean? You didn't go to Florida or or Ole Miss. So here's the money they gonna give you. Get to camp and do your very best, So, but yeah, Randy was, and what we got in the locker room was the Randy that you guys see on television. He was very personable. We sat down and chopped it up a number of times. And they were really trying to groom Randy, in terms of CC and those guys are like, bruh, you're a young black millionaire. you're in Minnesota, make sure you cut your hair off, get some braces, start, aligning yourself up to, what this, what your lifestyle can and will be. And so, that second year, then they started doubling him. And because most guys thought somebody that tall is going to be really slow. And he was one of those guys that continued to accelerate down the field. It wasn't like he hit top speed and that was it. He's accelerating. He's continuing to accelerate down the field faster. And, his stride would almost be, 4.5 yards per stride. So, if he's taking off, you're done. There's no, you can hit his arm all day long. You can try to run in his, his lane to try to slow him down and get him on top of you. But, his speed was incredible. I remember, like I said, there would be plays where you could feel him take off on you, and then he shut it down to make sure that the film didn't look bad. You know what I mean? Because I mean, think about the athleticism that takes for that to happen. But I'll never forget, we came out of training camp my first year, and he ran like a 25-yard curl. Yeah. I see this curl, and I'm looking through him back to Randall, and I see Randall look like he was throwing it out of bounds. Yeah. And I'm looking like, oh, that nigga finna, he finna throw that shit out of bounds. Like, yeah, I covered, I was on Randy's ass. And all of a sudden I'm looking like this, it looked like this nigga finna jump up and get this ball. And, I had a 42-inch vertical, so I could jump. I jump up, and I'll never forget, his feet just kept on going up my body. And he's jumping way, he's way up here, and I'm just thinking, I'm just feeling this guy continue. I'm jumping high too, right? He's jumping over top of me, right? And I just remember like climbing on him, just holding on like a father to his leg, you know what I'm saying? Like, God damn. And so I remember he comes back down, and I kind of grab him and kind of, keep him from holding him up, because I was going to, try to pop it out of his hand afterwards. And I remember everybody at practice just stopped. It was just, everybody was frozen, like, holy shit, did y'all see that? And so, so there was tons of plays at practice where, you look at each other and you're like, what can you, you can't do nothing.
Can't do nothing with that.
There's nothing that you can do, but
ain't no technique.
So Randy was a top cat, and I'll tell you another guy who was like super impressive and like lights out was Jeff George.
Oh,
Jeff
man,
George was incredible. Like if I can't even describe.
If he could get along with people, he would have been one of the greatest of all time.
That was his thing, and the story behind Jeff was, when he was out with the Raiders, right? Because Jeff was a first round first pick. So that, you nice off the top just off of that, right?
Yeah.
So he's getting top dollar. Well, the word on the street was that he ended up getting going through some things with his wife, and she took, just a ton of money and his son. And so it like really broke his heart. And but all those quarterbacks are heady, man. You know what I mean? All those quarterbacks are heavy. If you're not starting, you're unhappy and pissed off, right? Mm-hmm. And you can imagine at that time, they had Randall, they had Jeff George, they had Dante Culpepper.
Yep.
And then a cat named Todd Bowman. So,
yep.
It was, you see just how competitive things get when you got, 2 first-round draft picks and a Hall of Famer in there. You know what I mean? Like it gets, you get a chance to see that type of chemistry that those quarterbacks go through.
Definitely. So let's wrap this up. So let's take a quick break. Chris, if you want to continue with us, we can get into our topics we want to talk about, whether it's Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers and stuff. You're welcome to join and stay with us. But let's get into some sports review on that. So let's take a quick break. take a quick 2 minutes and we'll come right back to it.
All right, sounds good.
Who that?
Oh Lord.
No, start that.
All right, so let's jump into sports. I would say the biggest topic is, I know we spoke about it last week, Deshaun Watson suspension, going from, 6 games, now being extended to 11.
And 5 million. And 5 million.
And 5 million being dedicated to charity.
And
that too. But is anyone surprised the quick turnaround from the NFL's appeal to get this to 11 games?
Nope.
Not really.
Tony Love, because I know you kind of spoke out about this before. Were you surprised the quick turnaround? Because you hit us with all the technical jargon last time. Like, what you think about that?
I think for them not to stretch it like Tom Brady did with his with the Deflategate. I think let's get this out the way. Let's get this going, and let's keep business moving.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by it at all. And then it's the Browns. We weren't expecting to be that. We weren't expecting to be that good this year. Even with Deshaun Watson. So.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So it's pretty much on point, like you said. So why? And he's already sat out for a whole year anyway. Why not just kind of realistically? And he got paid the whole last year. So why not push it legitimately now, where he sees a so-called fine that's going to be, we know, a tax write-off at the end of the day. We know he ain't really losing $5 million, but we get it though. And everything. Remember, he got 45 up front. So we know he ain't hurting on the situation per se.
The other portion I want to talk about, did y'all hear his interview before his last preseason game? Do y'all feel that his quote unquote apology is genuine, or do you feel like that was scripted?
Hell no.
Hell, what the hell you talking about? He ain't feeling sorry. We know he a pervert. He is who he is.
I didn't rape none of these bitches. What did I do?
I just flashed them. And a couple of grays me. And it is what it is.
And some of them got a shot.
Right. Exactly.
Very sensitive. This is a very sensitive topic.
Yeah, it's very sensitive. No doubt. But you're saying it's bad. But is it worse than the actual legitimate rapist situation, Rosenberg? Are we really going to justify this?
There's a lot of holes in it, and especially, I think, when you're paying out those women $10,000, that really isn't a lot of money, and if you're gonna really fight for something that drastic, the weight of it also has to match that amount in terms of your distress and the civil side of it in terms of money. So when I see $10,000, I'm looking like that ain't really, must not be that substantial when the other girl is really holding on tight. But like you said, man, this is, the NFL at some point in time has to separate, these guys are independent contractors, right? They're everybody is their own entity. So, if you play in the NFL, some of those guys back then were studying to be lawyers and judges, right? And had other businesses on the side. So the problem is now the NFL and this conduct stuff, has their hand in everything, yet in the same breath, you brought, the Las Vegas, Raiders, a professional sports team to the biggest betting place in the world. It's not making, and it's not making a lot of sense. Now, when I played, you couldn't be caught in Vegas. You couldn't be in Atlantic City. You couldn't be, in the Mississippi, anywhere there's a casino, you could not be at. So now you've broken all the rules, and now you've got, you move the team out to Las Vegas. And get that money market. And that's what it ultimately is about. So if you're just about making money, let the players make their money, and whatever off-season stuff happens, leave that alone. You know what I mean? And, but now Rodgers involved, it doesn't make any sense when you get a federal judge, right? A female federal judge. And was like, this is insane what's going on. and then you say, nope, we don't like what you did in terms of the decisions.
So we gonna tweak it more.
Because this is the other part
and
about
how does that make her feel as a woman, a female federal judge with the first case ever of the NFL? So they've got to figure that shit out. But Roger, I think Roger is so owned by the owners, right?
Yes, we know
that. I mean, they pay his salary. He gets $15 million a year. And let me just say this. Now I'm gonna leave this last piece here. The owner of the Miami Dolphins was going to pay a coach $1 million to throw an entire football season. Wait a minute. Listen, y'all. Not a game.
Not a
whole season.
A whole season. A whole season. Imagine the betting that would have affected that.
That did that. Mm-hmm.
But he gets nope. We don't see anything. There's nothing wrong. But Deshaun got to pay $5 million. This dude didn't do anything. He just fired the dude, and the dude's getting probably blackballed. Come on, man. So they got to figure it out quick, man. But we need ownership. That's what we need. That's why we got to have a seat at that goddamn table, man.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. But you got to remember too. That's
literally the topic of title of one of our podcasts when we talked about that seat at the table.
Yeah, but remember the Texans too knew all of these women that they employed. They employed these women to him.
Oh, I believe
it's so nice, and it is so nice that they held that to the vest until he started saying, "I want out of Houston now." So then once he said, "I'm out of Houston," now all of these damn women come want to have issues now. All of a
that's
sudden.
why the Texans got sued, because they were holding a room for him to have these sessions. Right. So they it was
on their watch.
All parties, and this just to kind of bring you up to speed. We still say that Deshaun is kind of creepy by going on IG.
Yeah, he'll creepy. Yeah, he creepy.
And searching for normally as an athlete. Let me ask you. So you play it. Me being a bum and playing at the park on the weekends. If I find somebody that's a good massage therapist, I'm going to stick with them. Why are you going through so many? That to me was just a red flag. You know what I'm saying? What level of red flag is one thing, but if you worry about your body,
that's that nigga fantasy. That's that nigga thing. Man. You know what I'm saying? Some niggas like big booty, some niggas like cellulite. That nigga has dreams of that nigga likes the table. He has the masseuse dreams. Yeah, he likes laying flat on cold tables. All right, nigga, we got you.
Everybody got a thing.
Everybody got a thing, man. But
especially when you got money, money will show what your true fantasies will.
And here's the thing: I don't know about y'all. I know y'all know this, but in Houston, bro, I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, we know.
I know y'all know. Bro, you talking about women that love football? They gonna love you because of football, and they fine as hell. Nigga, you ain't got to pay $100.
You ain't gotta do that.
Like I said, get you a team, dog, and just put them on. Couple stacks a month. We go out to dinner every now and then. You dress up. I got a table over here in the corner. You pretend to pull it out.
So simple.
It's so simple, man. And listen, that's about $100,000. That ain't even, you ain't got to. It ain't got to be crazy. That's cash.
Right, but he still came out. But look, he still ended up getting paid at the end of the day. That money he got more money than he would ever thought, and he's still straight at the end of the day. He almost went 2 years now without to catch extra CTE going on in the future.
Hey Chris, if me and Tony Love knew you a couple years ago or whatever, we won't be on this podcast, man. If you told us that. All it is $100K. All right. Roll this up a little bit.
Keep it simple, man. Keep it simple, stupid, because he's got it complicated. And ain't no getting out of that one, man. But all of you he just needed to take it on the chin. Stop fighting it. They gonna do what they gonna do because they run that business, and you know what I mean. It's their business, bro. It's their business. The
crazy thing is, first game back is against the Texans.
Yeah,
that's so
that ironic,
so oddly perfectly. That was so set up. That's set up by the NFL.
That 2 week is going to be all over ESPN, Fox Sports, or whatever. So it's going to still.
That's the game of the week.
Help the shield in that fashion.
I promise that's the game of the week.
Oh, no doubt. Unofficially, the game of the week.
Unofficial. Don't be surprised you push your Thursday night game.
The next NFL quarterback in the news, Aaron Rodgers, which has been in the news a lot lately the past year, calling out his young receivers. You know, he doesn't have Devontae Adams anymore. He's going to Tide Kings Raiders. So he's working with a younger group. You know, he's trying to find a security blanket replacement. Chris, with you, you know, playing in the league, what do you think about, you know, either calling out players in the media versus speaking to them directly? Like, do you think that's a taboo or how you feel about that?
You know, the one thing about the NFL too that you learn is that every week they've got a 1 through 53 man roster that they rank the players, right? And so obviously those players that are at the top get paid the most money. Right. And with the salary cap, you know, these quarterbacks are now demanding significant amounts of money now, right? I mean, before it seemed like, you know, $9 million is a lot of money. Now a jump with the new TV contracts and them breaking up these games and selling them off to these cable companies. Now the salaries are going at 25 and 35 and $40 million a year. And you're thinking, you know, cats ain't even worth that, but it's not even about them being worth it. That's just what the market now has the market is. And so, you know, I think when we all knew that Devontae earned a huge contract, he's a phenomenal, you know, #1 wide receiver in the league, and he needed to get paid. And, you know, I think Aaron also has an ego where, you know, he's has to be the highest paid player on the team. So he's going to pout, you know, every year he's pouting. Every year he wants to retire. Every year he's threatening. And, you know, I think with even that, the Love kid, you know, it was just like a mistake after mistake that Green Bay was making. Well, now Aaron wants to get paid the top dollar of those league stars, which he should, obviously. But then that means that if you're getting all the cash, then that means you're going to have to get some trash too, because those receivers aren't going to be that good. And they're not going to have that relationship that you and Devontae did. And part of it is his fault because he was relying on Devontae so much instead of divvying around, right? The balls, so that when the situation came up, it wouldn't be as big as it is. I do think the kid from NDSU is going to be really talented kid. He needs that big body, which I think that kid is fast and strong. And I think he's, you know, he just has to kind of feel him out. And I think for most guys, it takes about 3 years to get in the system. Your first compared to your second year is completely different because now you're allowing the game to come to you and you're reacting and playing, you know, kind of situational football and can kind of feel kind of the rhythm of the game. But it slows down a little bit. Aren't going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, Devontae Adams had the same thing. Remember, they were trying to run him out of town those first 2 years. And then it finally clicked, and then he just had that jump. Yeah. So, you know, like I said, I think it's kind of premature with Aaron Rodgers, like calling them out in the media. Like you said, you know, you got a young crop, but
how you gonna trust a man that calls his own family out? You can't trust him. Can't trust no man that even say I don't talk to my
But I'm gonna say this, you guys. I'll say this now. Now we all come from the generation of writing notes to girls, right? And really having to have a conversation and phone boning and 8th grade dances and shit in hot ass gyms and shit like that. These kids are all about social media. These kids are about followers now. These kids, their game isn't the obsession of football anymore. It's everything that comes with football. And so the media is the way to get your attention. Like, hey, nigga, you know what I mean? Hey, nigga, you let me tell you, hey, they need to get their shit together. Now all of a sudden, right, that message is coming to you like, maybe I need to get my shit together because this all pro guy, right? He's a god up there in Wisconsin, right?
That's a good call.
I mean,
because that's a good point.
Because you out, he called who? Yeah, I'm calling you out. So what? What you want? Right.
Because in our generation, we'll call it like we say it back home. It's called throwing bricks and hiding your hands. You know what I'm saying, doing something like that. But like you said, that's a good point. It's a new generation thing where they probably receive it differently than we would. Yeah.
Yeah, he hitting you with some uppercuts where now this shit is in print. You know, people are making likes on that shit and heart faces and shit like that. Like, you are kind of soft, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like that's you know, and you know, I think that old school way of thinking, right? You know, it's like our kids. You know, we ain't hurting them by sending them to their room. Give me that goddamn phone. You know what I'm saying? You give me the phone, I got your fucking attention. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
that's a good call.
Man. I don't mean to curse, Sean. You know, I don't mean to curse.
We cuss all the time.
No, we worse than this. So don't worry.
Trust me.
I think the calling out is a good thing. And you know what? It's going to prep him for when he gets into coaching, because I think he'll be able to do, if he chooses to do it, he can really be a good coach, because the most successful NFL coaches are the old school coaches. And you know, it seems like in the NFL, I'm happy for the newer coaches that have come out, but it looked like for a while that a lot of these coaches, if you were under 40, a white boy, and you had a 5 o'clock shadow, they were giving out head coaching jobs. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, good call. Good way, man. That's a good way to describe it.
Y'all see it, right? Y'all see it. I'm trying to go my shit out. You know what I mean? I'm trying to go my shit out. But you know, I think that's a big piece to it too, man. Is they've got, you know, you have to have, you know, when LSU won the national championship a few years ago, they were hiring old 70, 80-year-old coaches that came in and worked with Burrow, right? They brought in a whole new style, an old style of offense with new school, you know, kids, and they just were destroying people, right? They had better athletes. Wow. They had everything was crisper, faster, you know, tons of first round draft picks everywhere, all over the damn field. Like, but they went old school. And so that's what happens with some of these coaches. You know, when you get coached old school, you realize the expectation that are there, because you're worried about winning. You're not
right. The Deion effect right now. Even Deion doing that in Jackson State right now. He's bringing all the old school cats. Now with the talent he's bringing in on top of that is going to. He got Zimmerman. To decide to come to Jackson on a budget, like on the cheap sheet.
Yeah.
Right now, but he's gonna help so many kids. Yeah, but on the hookup, because they always had a great relationship. But Zimmerman's still getting a couple of more dollars from, you know, Minnesota anyway, so from his contract anyway, so he can afford to just take this little time, like almost a break, to just not have to deal with the pressures of the NFL, but just come
100%.
down here and relax for a minute, but still get the coach, but just in a more chill manner.
And what he brings is, I watched him interview last night. If you guys got a chance to check that out, I think it's 3 or 4 minutes, but you know, he just talks about facilities. And he said, if they get facilities, you can hang it up, because the culture is so different. And, you know, us, we accept anybody. You know, you guys are talking about the white baseball players at HBCUs, you know, they're going for the experience. They're saying, man, you know, we get a chance to be a part of a different style of history. And we accept everybody, right? We ain't looking like, man, what you doing here, dog? You know, we ain't picking at saying, what are they doing here, right?
Yeah.
We just accept you. You know, we just like, come on in. And so, you know, I think that those coaches are,
they've seen the bigger picture. The bigger picture is happening.
They realize
it took one. It takes one to get the bigger happen.
And that attention and getting that, the goal is, you guys, is progressing the game. How are we developing the game and pushing it further? You know, like I said, you see the NFL 60 now with, you see 7-on-7 now is its own kind of sport, right? 1-on-1s now is its own sport. It's its own entity. You know, you got girls 7-on-7 that are coming up. So, you know, the game is continuing to progress, much like the NBA did. It went from a United States thing to now an international thing. Yes. And so, you know, you're seeing, you know, I've been checking out soccer, those shows on those soccer documentaries on like Amazon Prime, and the academies that they have. You know, it's similar to, you know, the NFL. And, you know, they know the way that they treat their players. I mean, from the diets to the nutrition, to the stretching. I mean, they know exactly where you're going to be at and exactly when you're done. And, you know, the NFL has to start really investing in that type of science. and guarantee contracts, because, you know, it's the turnover is so much. And then to kind of piggyback what you guys were talking about earlier, these NIL deals are going to be coming earlier. And that means the NFL is going to have to start competing with salaries outside, right, of the league, because, you know, State Farm come in and gives a kid 13 million and you want to sign them for $1 million. I mean,
that don't add up.
It don't add up. You know what I mean? So you're going to have to start doing some things, but yeah.
That's a perfect transition. So the other thing we was talking about, so getting to college football. So LSU quarterback Miles Brennan, you know, he didn't win the job. He had NIL deals. So this is another, which I think is going to be a small percentage, but the fact that he's gotten the money and he's stepping away from the game, there's nothing they can really do about that, right? So like, it's probably going to hurt people or future players on that, because now they're going to start, hey, we can't give you that much. We got to see that you're going to be committed to playing this game.
What you supposed to do in the first place? That was just dumb on their part.
Agreed. But it's the same thing we talked about in previous podcasts. It's like understanding the money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I forgot who was talking about this recently, but like understanding the school you go to, depending on what your NIL, exactly. Depending on so, for example, if you go to a Nike school, you can't be getting into the bed with somebody that's Adidas or getting somebody in the bed that's Reebok.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Right. Whether it's Adidas or Reebok directly, or somebody that's affiliated with Adidas and Reebok. So it's like little things like that that's going to impact these kids going forward. I think it was Dawn Staley that was saying, like, she talked to her players, like, get you a lawyer, understand these contracts. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily getting you an agent, but getting you a lawyer to look over these contracts so you know what you're getting into ahead of time, the way you get the most out of it. But at the same time, like Brennan, this guy, he's been jumping all over the place, but commit to that deal. Like you was talking about earlier, understand what you're passionate in, whether it's the money, whether it's the fame, whether it's winning, whether it's the love of the game, whatever the case may be, is understanding that situation up front. So hopefully this doesn't, kill NILs. I don't think it's gonna kill NILs, but
no, they're gonna kill it. Just they're gonna
lower some deals for some players.
Yeah, it's gonna be 1 year deal more. They're gonna have incentive clauses to where like you have to be a starter, things like that. If you quit the team, you must pay back this money. It's gonna be some clauses going forward to where you're not gonna just take the bag and just disappear. Sad to say here, white folks in their privilege done fucked it up, and then now you want to do this shit the right way now. Because look, you would thought, they think black people take the money and run. No. We know who originally steals and then claim like they did something right. So no, it's just been done correctly. So I'm glad it wasn't us this time that did this. This is one Antonio Brown shit that we was fortunate enough that didn't have to happen.
Oh shit!
Thank God.
Yeah, man. It's a I don't think. When they open this world up, I don't think they realize how big Pandora's box is. I was watching Chip Kelly the other day, and LSU has hired their first wealth management expert for NIL deals for the university. And so she's really helping them again talk about, like you said, the legality of everything and the contractual law that's in there. And they had athletes from all over. I mean, swimmers, gymnasts, football players, baseball players. So, I think it's a good thing in terms of players getting paid. I think for guys to get out of, tough situations financially early is a win. I think the bowl games, the conferences, I think I just saw the other day, there was a TV contract from CBS for like $30 billion. I mean, you got to pay some of these players, you know what I mean? These athletes, I mean, it's a job. It's hard, you guys, you know what I mean? The experience that I had playing football, I missed all the fun stuff that the regular students were doing. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get any of that because we weren't allowed. I was in meetings, you know what I mean? It was a job.
Weights.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? And so we're barely getting to the cafeteria on time. So, I think for athletes to get paid, It makes sense. And, you know, in this day and age, there shouldn't be anybody broke. You know what I mean? And that goes down to the elementary school folk. You know what I mean? Like at this stage, right, in America, we should have compassion for one another to make sure we're in the right, you know, right places at the right times with the right people and the right resources. And so, but these college athletes, it's a lot of hard work, and you know, they should be compensated. I think the University of Miami's got a businessman that's paying them everybody $5,000 a month.
Yep.
I mean, damn, bro, that's big
crazy
time. You know what I mean? That's like $5,000 a month. You can't even spend that shit on Jordans and shit. You know what I'm saying? You just like, man, I'm just gonna start stacking because I got everything I need. And that's kind of the growth mindset that has to happen with a lot of our young people. It's, you know, we can't be fear-based. You know what I mean? We can't be in that mindset. We got to think bigger. But you know, they're adults, right? After 18, you're able to sign up for a credit card. So if you sign that contract or a deal for a car contractor, nigga, pay up, nigga. Your ass is supposed to be here from 9 to 7, or I'm taking your shit back. Or it's null and void. Right. So there's gonna be some tough lessons learned.
Definitely. Real quick, I want to touch on this. So one of my former players' parents, his father, had posted something. Like, I'm in Georgia. I told you that earlier. He was saying that Gwinnett County is the SEC of high school football. You know, me being from New Orleans, kind of cringed. I live out here, so I see it. I see what he's saying. There's a couple of national ranked high schools out here in Gwinnett County.
Yep.
But I want to expand upon that. Like, of course, I'm gonna say New Orleans metro area. Of course, I'm gonna say South Florida. What do you think are the hotbeds as far as high school football across the country?
Oh man, I think Louisiana's first. I'd go, I'll say Florida second, say Texas third, Cali 4. Then eventually I'm going into, Arizona's another hot spot that I think has got some good football. And then I'm taking it kind of that Michigan, Ohio area, because those state has some serious, Ohio's got some serious athletes out there. I think when I think North, I think, and then, obviously South Carolina football is huge. North Carolina football is huge.
Question with Alabama. Yeah. You only can trust them in college, though. You only can trust them in college.
Yeah, you can't trust them, but I think North Carolina is a slept-on state. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, very slept-on area on the East Coast, down that corridor down there. Yeah,
definitely. Like I said, I'm gonna be biased. Like I even want to argue with him because I know he's gonna call me as soon as I post it on his comment. But like the amount of talent out the New Orleans area, you know what I'm saying? We got Hall of Famers. We got Ed Reed. You know what I'm saying? It's
Williams.
You know what I'm saying? It's so much that's gonna come out of that area. Dalton Hilliard, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know this. Bill Russell's from Louisiana. He doesn't count New Orleans.
Yeah, from Louisiana. He's from Monroe. Yeah, he's from Monroe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it's stuff. I just found that out recently. Like it's so much talent that came out of there. Like Antoine Jameson. Like I didn't know he was from Louisiana. Danny Granger. You know what I'm saying?
Is it not Bill Parrish? Oh, not Bill.
Robert Parrish. Robert Parrish.
Yeah, Shreveport.
Louisiana.
Shreveport. Monroe.
My dad played him in the state championship.
Okay. He elbowing like you. Mm-hmm. He hit him with elbow like you do.
He pitched his shot in the stands.
He did what?
I
you
never did.
Yeah.
Rob Parrish?
My dad played center. I'm taller than him. He had the house.
You know what I'm saying? Effort.
Yeah.
But the high school, like I said, high school football, like again, when I moved out here to Georgia, is much better than I thought. I'm put it like that. Because I thought I've seen it all in high school, like just seeing the ridiculous amount of talent. Yeah. But like there's some good talent out here as far as kids, but I don't know about being.
So how do you describe the talent? What's talented about the kids in Louisiana and Georgia? What do you see in terms of talent? Speed, size, football awareness. What would you?
Louisiana is more speed and craftiness, right? I think that's what we get out of the New Orleans metro area. Yep. Georgia is more so of a physical.
Okay.
We're physical as well.
Strong. They is country strong.
Country strong is a good term.
Yeah.
They have a lot of that. And I think that to think of, like, as far as like speed, they have some, but I ain't seen it. Like, I'll go to high school games, like, I know like third stringers that's moving like, that I went to high school that's moving like these guys. So like, but at the same time, it's them being committed to playing the game too. Cause like those third stringers I was talking about are the same third stringers that's after the games, on the block doing stuff they're supposed to be doing. So like, that's the other part about it too, is being committed to the game. But as far as just being, I'm saying skill positions, that New Orleans metro area just was ridiculous as far as the talent that was putting into college.
Yeah, and like you said, it is a desperation to get out of it.
Ryan
It's a desperation to get out of the hood. Yeah, and getting out of the hood, like you
different
really,
game.
they trying
the game
to
means something. The game
right.
means something.
But
you got a purpose.
It just means more.
Jarvis Landry.
Marshall Falk. Yeah, Marshall Falk. Yeah, it's old, old LB. Yeah, Fournette. Like we got all so
the Mannings. You can go.
The Manning brothers.
Yeah, I mean.
Forget about them. Like
it's okay to brag. Now here's what I'm trying to figure out. That's New Orleans or that's Louisiana? Because y'all.
No, he's New Orleans.
Y'all started to blend some shit together.
New Orleans.
Okay, I was making sure y'all wasn't blending shit together because you told me specifically Tide King. Specifically Tide King. There was two different places.
Yeah, no, they ignorance is us all day. They ain't your typical.
What you see on TV, that's New Orleans.
Yeah,
that's New Orleans. That's New Orleans. When Peyton Manning hit that kid in the back of the head with the football, that's real. Yeah, that's how
and they played all sports too. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing we push in New Orleans Metro. Like for example, Odell Beckham, like he plays everything: soccer, football, basketball.
Yeah,
like you know what I'm saying? They played everything. So it's like,
nobody never played one sport. Yeah, nobody never played one sport in New Orleans. New Orleans Metroplex area.
That's dope.
Yeah, because a lot of guys that played football, like it was a bunch of them in our years that got drafted to play baseball. You know what I'm saying? But they just took that money.
A lot of black baseball players, absolutely.
And then
that was our game. That was us too. Yeah.
Right.
That's another game that, like we was talking about HBCUs as hard, as far as how to get overlooked. Black baseball is, the whole game about, taking the steals out of the game and that's playing with speed.
Right.
That's something that needs to come back to bring back the black players.
Yeah.
Which is happening. Because
they're
getting there.
They started to draft them. They started to draft them big time. Hold on.
Yeah, because they learned their lessons from all of Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. Can't keep bringing that energy. Can't bring that energy no more. It's like,
all right, wrapping up. This will be our last segment. Tony Love, grinning ear to ear. So Chris, for a while now, Tony Love has been proposing college football to go to a 32 game playoff. 32 team
hashtag
playoff,
32 team
playoff system.
Yeah.
He wants us to be the football version of March Madness. We call it
December
Blitz. He's proposing that this will bring so much money to NCAA, a lot of exposure. I know as of late, there's been a lot of players that's been ducking bowl games, getting ready for the draft.
Yeah.
What do you think about this outlandish idea by Tony Love?
Oh man, as a football fanatic, I think it's an awesome idea. I got a chance to experience the playoff when Clemson played Ohio State out in Arizona, and that bowl atmosphere. There's nothing like it, man. Just a lot of energy, and then you just have people who travel in Ohio State. It was like 80%, 86% Ohio State. The rest were Clemson fans. But Ohio State it's just incredible because you're in lines and in restaurants and people talk to you. Mm-hmm. It's just a really cool fellowship. I'm all about football, but I'm also all about knowing that in this sport, the injuries are going to happen. and they increase the longer the season actually becomes. You know, I'm all for paying athletes. If you pay those athletes from the revenue, I'm all for it, and they can split, you know, a couple $1 million for the kiddos. You know, for 85 to 100 guys, I think that would be ideal. But having, you know, 18 games, you know, you're getting into, you know, the school year, number one, into that winter semester. So like you're saying, guys are getting hurt. Guys are academically may not be eligible because now every week they're going from one city to another. The type of just the heaviness and weight of the traveling itself is crazy. You know, I think in basketball with 11 guys, you can do that, or 12 guys. But when you've got, you know, 100 guys, 100 people in a program that you have to travel and move around with, I think that can be a real challenge in terms of hotels and jets and that time of year of just people moving around. So, you know, those kids play a lot of football, and to have that many more games is a lot. You know, if you look, I'm a Dabo Swinney fan because he's all about paying players. I'm a Clemson fan, but he also talks about the playoffs and, you know, splitting that revenue with players. So if you're going to play longer, then pay the players so that if and when something does happen, they've got money in their pocket for their future. And I think it would be also great if they created some sort of, you know, 401k or some sort of plan that when guys do finish college, you know, they've got, you know, $300,000 that, you know, is in a fund and they can choose to, you know, take it out or invest it more, whatever the case may be, just some sort of financial literacy so that they can handle the NILs, they can handle, you know, money, because, you know, $5,000, shit, $1,200 to somebody who ain't got a lot of money, you know what I mean? Yeah. Is a lot of money for kids. And so, but I like the idea. I love the football, man. I do. I just worry about the injuries. And then, like you guys said,
keep this in mind. I said this is 10 years away. I don't think this is right around the corner. I think we can have, like everything you said, we can get to that point.
We can get to it.
Yeah, we get to that point where we have 30.
I'm with you. And the super conferences, what you're saying too, the super conferences that they're creating, you know, it's happening as well. You know, so you know, we don't talk. You guys didn't talk about Manning, whose little boy signed with Texas, right? And then, you know, people forget that Texas is sliding to the SEC. Yeah. So, you know, there's all sorts of slick shit going on, man. And, you know, he went to Texas for a reason, because that oil money is a little bit different than some boosters. You know what I mean? That oil money, you know, that oil money is, we're going to be here for a while. We ain't got to do a whole lot of shit. So, but I'm excited. I think college football is getting bigger and better. I am a college football fanatic, man. And so I'm up at watching College Game Day early in the morning to the last Fox game on the West Coast. So as much football as I can watch and consume, you know, I do. But between that NIL
is enough.
But keep this in mind, though, the bowl committee has already come out and said, hey, if y'all gonna expand this, keep us where we at. We want to be a part of it. And there's 41 bowl games right now. 41. All I need is 31 for a 32-team playoff.
It's almost like it is already. You know what I mean? Because the bowl games are going to determine based upon your schedule, you know, and your record. So at the end of the day, and that's the thing about it, the top 4 teams are still going to be the top 4 teams. Now, what I don't like is the college playoff. I like the BCS. I used to think the BCS, when they had the scores, you know, like an 86.73, I love that shit, because there was an actual formula that was going to help you out. I think anytime you get the government involved in anything, like, I don't know why Condoleezza Rice is in there. Your ass don't need to be in that fucking room at all. No government entity needs to be in there. You know what I'm saying?
Go on. What you doing?
I mean, you know what I mean? So, but you know, that to me is, and I understand why they got away from it. I like they haven't got it wrong yet. And the games that we've seen have been really interesting, but there's also been a huge jump from 4 to number 1. And, we saw that with Burrow coming out doing what he did, and embarrassing Clemson the way that he did. He put a lot of first rounders, first round draft picks all over the place.
Yeah, he did.
So yeah, man, I just think it's just a little too long for the guys in terms of the wear and tear on their body. I think the student part is what they really, really worry about, because then you're kicking into a whole nother season. And, like I said, man, I think, and also, like I said, cut them boys checks. If you're going to do it, cut the check, man.
But here's the argument I have to that. I mean,
Yeah.
Division II and Division III, they're already in that 28-32 team playoff.
Okay.
Why wouldn't that? Why wouldn't that be successful for Division I?
I'm with you, man. I know that they were just talking about there's only a handful of teams in college football that actually make money, right?
Yeah.
Like that turn a profit. And so, everything else, everybody is losing money, which is 90% of the rest of the team.
Right.
So, I don't know. I just think the moving around, it would be the only tough thing, especially like booking hotels. I mean, can it be done? Absolutely. But like I said, I think it extends so many more games. And then as you see the extension of more games, then you're cutting down into the training of the combine, like you guys are talking about. You get into February, the draft is in April. So that means you're only going to have so many time to train. Cats are going to be, in the top 10, and they're like, we out. We're going to train, and you might as well have cut those teams off, because the bowls are already set up that way. So,
because the way I look at it, if you had that, March Madness type, thing going in December for college football, there's less scouting that these NFL teams have to do. Like if as far as March Madness, if March Madness, we would have never known Steph Curry. Steph Curry would be playing in the overseas right now, and all these other unknown cats that came out of March Madness because they performed so well. I think if you have this playoff, in December, you're going to get a lot of eyes on cats that you didn't see all season. And then the thing about it that I never liked about college football, Division I, at that last week of Thanksgiving week, that's it. And then you have your bowl game start a month later. We stopped the whole season for a month. That's a month where we could be making hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, 16 games will be good.
You got to rest the athletes too. You got to rest the athletes, right? You got to rest the athletes. You got to rest the athletes at some point, because anybody who run track know if you run hard every single day, eventually you're gonna get hurt, and that's the biggest thing that these guys don't want to do, and that's why those guys tap out, of those bowl games, because they like, if I ain't playing in a natty, I'm finna go train. Right. So exactly. One thing that we talked about a little bit about professional sports, but then you can talk about the sports agents, right? These sports agents, there's already kids ranked, right? Already, just like in basketball, you got your ESPN top 300 or whatever. In football, you can go buy those magazines and you see already the classified kids from sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And that's how agents go after certain guys, right? And so the NFL already has their guys already ranked based upon who you're playing, when you play them, all those pieces. So I think, you're talking about an elite guy, those guys that are going to be top 10, top 60 NFL draft picks, do I want to play an extra 3 weeks? Man, I don't know if my body can really take that. And that month off gives those guys some time to recover and really get back at it before, the bowl games. Because just running through, a 17-game season plus 4 preseason games is a lot of football. For anybody, let alone that's a professional athlete that's doing that. So when you're talking about playoffs, that's what you're talking about, is those guys that are 18, 19, 20 years old, being on the road. Are they going to be eligible? Because the partying and all that stuff in every city is going to happen. You're going to have to recover. You're going to have to move, fly all those 85 people, feed all those 85 people, 3 cots, 3 hots in the cot every day. That's a lot of money that is going out. And I know what you're saying. You're saying that it's going to come in. So I'm with you. It's just they're going to tire them guys out, man.
Nobody wants to see a 1 against a 16.
No.
Nobody ain't watching that
1
game.
versus 10. Nobody wants to see 1 versus 10. Y'all remember what happened to Michigan last year? Michigan got destroyed last year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Embarrassed by Georgia. Georgia was beating them like they was. I mean, that was like they didn't even belong on the same. You know what I mean?
No,
channel.
1 versus 8. Yes, I can deal with a 1 versus 8. But nobody ain't trying to see no 1 against no 16. I don't care if my team. I'm a Hurricane fan. If my Hurricanes fall anywhere near 16, I ain't watching that damn game. I'm not about to hurt my feelings getting to watch a blowout. Like, if my team ain't in the top 10, that's the only time I'm watching. If they below that, I'm not wasting my energy.
I did Clemson this year like that. I had to let them go, man. Y'all tripping. Y'all going down the road, man. I'll see y'all next year.
But what if they do win?
Well, then I'll be ready for the next game. If I ain't watching that game, I can tell you that. They ain't watching that game.
Oh my God.
You ain't about to play with my emotions, but I'll be ready for the next one for sure. But I just ain't taking them chances because this ain't basketball that works. That don't really work like that in football.
Because in basketball, a single player can make a difference in basketball. In football, it's in the trenches. You know what I'm saying? It's rare. Unless you got somebody that's a Michael Vick level player that can change the game like that as an individual, there's not many cases that's going to happen. Everything else is everything in that box.
What about McNeese State? What about when McNeese State was hot? There was other small schools that were hot that beat.
Yes, but was McNeese State hot to be competing in the 32-game playoffs?
Where the disagreement lies. That okay, so your top 25 are in the 32, but they're thinking that extra 7 is like your McNeese State. Or it's like your Central Michigan. It's like
Utah State, Western.
Yeah, they're thinking it's that team, those teams.
But Alabama don't want to play them. Alabama, I mean, think about it. Your Alabama's gonna look like, what are we doing? Because you're gonna beat them 80-0, right?
They beat them 80-0.
You made $25 million. You made $25 million. Who cares? We could have.
But you could lose one. But you could lose a top player playing in that raggedy game.
On a game with
unnecessary.
If the dream team has taught us anything, a punch in the mouth is going to wake up the rest of the competition.
Okay.
No.
You already got that in the top 25 though. The top 25 is already talent rich. Once you get to the top 10, now you're talking football. Now you're talking program. Everybody else.
But who ranked that top 10 though? Like as we saw with Michigan and Georgia, who put them there? Come on.
Okay.
Right. That's why I said
the other part about the rankings.
Well, that's what the playoff committee's for. The playoff committee.
With the playoff committee, the other part about the rankings we talked about in the chat, we shouldn't have preseason rankings where a team can be ranked high in the preseason and get an extra boost, quote unquote. And shout out to my brother, Notre Dame. Like, you can't, like, the rankings shouldn't start till week 3, to me. That way you can see who's legit and not base it off of, oh, he had a good recruiting class or he has so many people coming back. Nah. Go week 3, when the senior play 3 games, now we're going to rank y'all. Instead of what you're supposed to be or based on what your history is. That's why I think a lot of teams.
When does the playoff committee officially start? Is that after game
7.
4? 7.
I want to say 6 or 7.
Gotcha.
6 or 7, but I'm saying, but the preseason
that's why I like the
rankings.
BCS. The BCS to me was dope because you had just a lot of.
But your preseason ranking can also impact the BCS as well because that was into the equation where your ranking is. So, for example, if you started off top 5 and maybe lose one game and only fall to 15. That still helps you out because you may have a strength schedule and this and that and the other going forward.
As you should.
Right.
Yeah.
You always want to lose a game early in the season than late in the season.
You don't want to lose a game early.
Exactly.
But wouldn't it
conference championship?
But wouldn't it still help out HBCUs? A 32 team playoff?
So when I played at Howard, we so that year we played Marshall, my sophomore year. Marshall won the national championship. We were 4th in the nation in 1AA, and we won the Black College National Championship. Mm-hmm. So we had a choice to go to the Heritage Bowl and play for a national championship, or go to the playoffs, for the HBCU championship, or go to skip the bowl game and go to the playoffs and play, William and Mary or one of those teams, Youngstown State at the time. And we chose to play Southern because we said, we felt like a historically Black college championship was better. So FAM went that year to the playoffs and ended up getting knocked off by one of those schools in Virginia. I can't remember who they might have been like Richmond or somebody like that. But we ended up beating Southern in the Heritage Bowl in '96. So I think for Black colleges just look at the SWAC and the MEAC. We're not looking at any other white institution because we have our own Black college rankings. We have our own Black college national championship. So we're not looking at, we play those guys, but that's not anything that we're hanging our hat on. So the playoffs to us is like, sure, we'll go, but you have the choice to play in the national championship or not. So when South Carolina State dotted Deion's I in national championship, it was, and the MEAC has always been SWAC killers. We always, for some reason, y'all don't think we can play ball, up north or on the East Coast. But I think that's more important to those two conferences, man.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Tony Love, he showed up late today. Trying to be a parent. What have you learned this episode?
We'll learn. For me personally, fuck the party. Are we going to the Battle of the Bands? Ty King could have ran a sub-11 in 100 meters.
Which I'm not surprised. Hey, I know you're gonna give him a hard time, but come on, man. We know.
Hey, on my dead sister, this dude has never burned me.
Dude, come on. You down. What is you talking about?
You is tripping, Tony.
Bruh. I've gunned you down before.
Bro, you got a po' boys behind you, dog. Come on, man. You got a po' boys behind you. You can't.
Hold on. Tony Love. Tony, listen.
That's your favorite shot behind you. Come on, man. I'm gonna defend you on this one, dog. I'm gonna defend you on this one. You can't have a goddamn, a fried fish platter shop behind you.
I even allowed him one time to think he about to get a touchdown, and I gunned him down to keep him from getting a touchdown. Dude, you just your own world.
Tony Love. These are two different things. No, there's two different things. I get what you're saying. The older we get, the better that we were. However, come on, man.
Sub-11.
I'm done that, dog. But I mean,
dude. So Tony Love, explain this.
Hey,
if he is faster than Twin, and Twin wearing, you say the 10-7?
10-7.
Why Ty King can't do that?
That's it, because that's street, man.
So on the same level. When I was in 10th grade and doing rim grazer dunks, and this mofo at 5'8" dunk in slippers, you gotta give it to him.
I'm in slippers, Nike slippers dunking. Relax, man. Just go ahead.
Let him have his moment.
Let him have his moment.
Let him have his moment.
Y'all see the sign behind him, man? Y'all see the sign behind him? I don't know why I even talking anymore about this. Look at the sign behind him. It said, "We never close." Nigga, you ain't never closed. That ain't
never closed.
The message is loud and clear. It's right there.
Man, I'm like, basically,
never close. We never close.
I was the Beanie Seagulls of our block. If I'd have put my heart in this, it would have been different. If I'd have ever put my heart in this, I never tried and it was a problem.
Sub-11.
I'm telling you, I played basketball with with cats that run sub 11, and he was just as fast. I'm telling you. I'm on comparison. We got live example between two twins.
I learned that today. That's all I'm saying. I learned that today.
We're gonna let you have it. We're gonna let you have it.
You know what? That's no.
Let's leave it like that.
This is what he get. No, this is what he get though for listening to the story of the slaughterhouse at the age of 16. He disappeared on us and stopped playing ball with us. And so he didn't get to see us playing no ball.
Hey, basically, I stopped hanging out to get some pussy. That's
what it is. The truth comes out.
Oh boy,
the truth comes out.
Hey, okay, but there's no problem with that. But don't take away what I have. You didn't see it.
I just say I learned it. I mean, I don't recall you ever.
Okay, refocus.
Okay, if you learned it, okay.
I learned that today.
Next topic. What else have you learned today, sir?
32-team playoff was met with joy and skepticism once again. and last if HBCU gets facilities, it's over for the rest of college sports.
Appreciate it. Oh my goodness, this has been a while. Oh man.
Exactly, man.
Again, Chris Rogers, we appreciate you joining us
Thank
today.
You guys, man.
Yes.
Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to shout out on the way out?
No, man. Hey, I just shout out Mr. Burns, man. I appreciate you. If y'all didn't know, he received our first of the year kind of honor for our employee of the week. So I'm gonna shout him out. I don't know if y'all know that he represented this week. They gave him an award just for his positive energy and in our school culture. So I appreciate him. He told me just a lot about you guys, and you were every bit of everything of what he said and more. So Sean, I appreciate you, brother. His wife is at HBCU, Howard University, HU. I got to shout that out. And so again, I appreciate y'all. We have to do it again for real.
Definitely.
No problem. Welcome back anytime. Time out. So Don went to Howard. You tripping? Yeah, you get the fuck out of here. Man, get the shit out of here. You know what? You tell me shit about
he kept that energy from us for a hot minute. Yeah,
he did.
No, I remember her posting something. That's why I kind of remember.
Hey, baby.
Don't forget. Hey, don't y'all forget. That ain't you, baby. That ain't you. Don't forget.
Definitely.
He out there snitching. There he go.
Yeah. They talking about you, baby.
Hey,
they talking about you. Listen.
Yeah. No, that's right, snitch. That's how Raheem Goodell rolls. That's why we call him Raheem Goodell.
I snitched. I hold all the most important stuff at breast. Everything else go out the window. You know what I mean?
Definitely. So again, Chris, we appreciate your time today.
Yeah,
like you said,
right,
definitely got to do it again. Good job, fellas. We'll be back next week and we can get into our NFL review. But y'all boys keep it easy.
All right, man. Stay easy, y'all. All right, man.
Hey, fuck them Titans.
Yeah.
I hate him.